I don't know how much the guys were taking in the adjustments he was making. They were just looking at him bleed. So I'm glad they took him in and got him stitched up. But I feel like that's kind of how it's to a degree, and maybe too strong of an illustration. That's kind of been what it's been like. And so to come back and to finish it, they told me, hey, Wick's stitched up. He's coming back. I said, okay, we're good then. And so I think there has been that O-line wise. I'm proud of them. They keep scrapping and fighting.
David Smoke.
Coach, can you go back to what Joe Wickline was dealing with? What happened? Do you know, with him getting all beat up?
No, I don't know. It's he's embarrassed about it, so I'm glad that we're talking about it right now. So I think someone whipped. There was some form of block coming from the side that he didn't see, and someone's cleat. There's a whiplash deal there, and so yeah, he was all cut up. So I remember going to the O-line. This was early in the first half, where we weren't very productive, and I'm over there and I just see blood everywhere on the side there. There's a towel of blood. There's another towel of blood, and so it's kind of illustrated this situation a little bit. You walk over there, and so then you see that it's all tied up on his leg, and so I wasn't anticipating the need for him to get stitched up. His hand is also all so. Wickline right now has stitches in his leg, and his hand is taped up because I think he was bleeding from his hand as well. So it's all of that's unique.
So there's Dave Aranda, almost, Craig, in a way. You see that sometimes subtle sense of humor where he said he's kind of embarrassed about it, so I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, he is a funny guy. I think he just, you kind of have to listen a little closer to Dave Aranda than you do to some others. And, I mean, I would have thought if you saw Joe Wickline covered in blood that he had committed a murder after watching that O-line in the first half. I mean, that was atrocious. I mean, that was awful. And, they were better in the second half, but also the offense was different in the second half as well. But, I mean, that was just not great. And 7 sacks, I think it was, in the first half or something. And Charlie Brewer's getting beaten to hell. And fortunately, it looked after one play like he was done. I forget the exact situation, but he took the big hit and then was slow to get up. And then it was almost like he was even better after that. But, I mean, he was getting rattled around. So I'm not sure what happened with Wickline. I mean, it sounded like he got whipped by a cleat or something as guys were close to the sideline. But, yeah, that's very interesting, and glad he's okay, I guess.
Yeah, he's okay. And one of the things about Charlie Brewer in the offense, because this was something that Dave Aranda was asked earlier today, and Jack will have this here, is that he ran the ball. He had 23 carries. 7 of those were sacks. So 16 carries for 70-plus yards. And he was so much more efficient in moving the offense in the second half. Yes, some receivers still had to make some really nice catches, and yet at the same time, the offense was a completely different deal. And Dave Aranda was asked about it. I think Bryce Cherry asked this question about him running the ball the last couple of games more, and he kind of got into really also maybe why the offense was more productive.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I look at part of that being on us as coaches, part of that being on me. I think for not having that sooner, I feel that Charlie's at his best when it's a 1-2 read. If it ain't there, then go. And that's what you're seeing. And I think when it's not that, right, and you say it's a full field read or it's this or it's that, I think that's not when he plays his best. And so I think really from about probably the West Virginia game on to try to tie in or narrow the scope of what we're doing down to where there's routes are coming into his field of vision or he's moving out of the pocket. Either way, it's 1-2. If it ain't there, then go. And I think that's Charlie, and I think that's us. And so we're going to continue to find creative ways to kind of get that done, because I feel that it's inspiring when he plays the way he plays, and we want Charlie to be Charlie.
1-2, if it ain't there, go. In other words, Get it done quickly. If it's not there, take off. And maybe create something either with your legs, whatever it might be. And there have been times he's held onto the ball too long. Sometimes he's had no time. Sometimes he just hasn't read the right people. And maybe there wasn't something, in fact, that he could get to. Or people weren't getting separations. Or he just himself, flat. I asked Seth Russell this during the game. He's to the right at the press box. I said, what's going on? And he made the comment, he goes, listen, as many times as he's getting hit, and especially early on today, he said all he sees right now are white jerseys everywhere. Even if there aren't any, you're probably seeing some things maybe you're not even seeing because of how many times he was hit in the first half. That doesn't mean Charlie himself wasn't responsible for some of the struggles as well. He was. And it's kind of like if you've ever been in a car wreck at a stop sign or a stoplight, and the next time you come up to a stop sign or a stoplight, you're probably a little bit more aware of everything, almost to a point where you're like frozen. Should I go or not? Especially if it was a bad wreck. And that's kind of how Seth Russell explained that to me in the press box on Saturday night. 1-2, ain't there, go. And that's what he does best.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does pretty well. And, he did it well on Saturday in the second half. I can imagine him being gun shy. I mean, as many hits as he was taking. I didn't think, at one point during the first half that he was going to make it through the end of that game, just with the way that it was kind of going. I mean, that's how much of a leaky faucet that offensive line was. But, he was vintage Charlie Brewer. I called it a Charlie Brewer special multiple times immediately after the game on Saturday night because that's what I felt like it was. And, it took that kind of a magic for them to get that win, and I'm glad that he got that moment, and I'm glad that they were able to enjoy the win.
Yeah, they got the win. Oklahoma's next. It's a different animal. A completely different animal coming up on Saturday night in Norman, Oklahoma. Paul Catalina joins us, kind of working on a couple of things behind the scenes. Jack runs the mothership. So those are Dave Aranda comments on the offensive line and Joe Wickline and his near-death situation. And then also on Charlie Brewer and taking off and running the ball a little bit more. Let me go over again what we have. Didi Richards at 3:30, Kevin Hoffman and Greg Jacobs, Martin Crawford at 3:48 and 3:54, Dave Aranda 101 at 4. And in that time period, he admits a couple of things that he wishes he could have done differently as far as with the offense and defense. We get into that with him as well. Also, Jason King, what a weekend for the men's basketball team. He'll join us at 4:30. High school players of the week and Craig's high school football summary at 4:45. Phil Bennett and Orion Stewart said he could join us today at 5:30. Then Toby Foreman, Shoemaker's head coach, on an offer to Monterey Baldwin, the wide receiver kick returner, that the tie-ins that he has, the Shoemaker coach from his days in Beaumont with George Munoz and even Matthew Powlich, who are on the Baylor staff at this particular time. All right, Paul, are we okay?
For the time being, there's a couple of things I need to do when we get to the break.
All right, let's do that. Craig, anything else you want to get into? Because we have a lot to cover, and we can always take a break and come back with more.
I mean, there's a lot I want to get into, but we can definitely go ahead and take
a
break.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back with more on the game Saturday. Also, Oklahoma Saturday this week. 254-339-1122 is the text line. 254-339-1122 is the text line. Do you feel any differently today than you did at this time a week ago? Do you feel any differently than you did at this time even last Thursday, Friday, first half? Because I thought they had hit rock bottom at a different level at the end of the first half, and I said it, and they had, but somehow found a way. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How does he do that? The one, you have to contact him. Go online, PettyClinicLowT.com. Contact them. There's a phone number there as well. Tell them you want to check your testosterone levels. You need blood work. Tell them Smokey sent you. He'll get you discounted blood work. He'll get the results of your testosterone levels along with checking your PSA count for prostate cancer issues and also cholesterol and a few other things as well. But the bottom line, he's looking for your testosterone level. And if it's dropped too low, below a number that he thinks should be what you should based on your age and health, if it's too low, he could put you in a program to increase your testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be. Whether it's energy, if you're lethargic, or whether you don't sleep well, if you're kind of having problems with that. Could be your sex drive and much more. Could be all of the above. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? You may not know that in a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email Sic'Em365 at musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at Sic'Em365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
Dodge Performance from Allen Samuels. Dodge, ranked highest in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Get remarkable Dodge incentives, like up to $5,170 in values on new 2020 Charger SXTs, America's most affordable third-row SUV. Dodge Journey has employee pricing for all, and both Charger and Journey have no payments for 90 days. The Black Friday sales event, now at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'Em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
All right, for some of you that have been able to send things in on the the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line from TJ, also from the 214. Interested from someone with more tactical knowledge. Are they maybe forced in a new offensive system first half, falling back to the old stuff second half? Multiple games now, the offense just looks so much more comfortable in the second half, like they aren't thinking as much. Well, they played offensively pretty well in a couple of first halves. But that's kind of a good point. That's a very good point. 254-339-1122. TJ sent me a little bit longer one. We'll get to that in just a second. And also more, if you will, jump on the text line, 254-339-1122. You guys, well, Craig, you had a few more things you want to get into with Oklahoma.
No, not really with Oklahoma. I mean, from the game Saturday, you know, I mean.
I'm sorry, the win against Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you wait that long for a win, don't want to just say, like, hey, that was great, now on to the next opponent. But, I mean, yeah, I just kind of mean that as there's a lot to unpack from that game to talk about. I mean, there's Charlie's performance for one, and I would love to hear from some people who are typically not really big fans of Charlie Brewer and get their thoughts on what they saw. Because, you know, there was a time in the first half where, again, had a number of people in the tweets say, hey, we need to change quarterbacks. And I didn't really so much understand the quarterback hate in the first half, because if you were watching that game, it was very clear what the problem was, and the problem was the offensive line. The problem was they couldn't block anybody. I mean, 6-7 sacks in a half. You know, it was crazy. And, you know, I just felt like Charlie really just had a different demeanor about him. That's something that he doesn't like. You know, it's easy for RJ and Treston and those guys in the postgame to say what they said about Charlie, and I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad that they supported their teammate. But I think there is a little bit of a disconnect and misunderstanding that just because people have had complaints about Charlie Brewer in the past doesn't mean that all of a sudden that's all forgotten because he won on Saturday night.
Well, believe me, I know that.
Yeah,
I saw the reactions from
I just think that, like, from those guys, they you know, admirably stuck up for their teammate, but I think at the same time they don't quite understand that when fans are live tweeting games and you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes you're going to make comments, and I, you know, there's going to be haters no matter what you're doing, and so I don't think that Charlie having that game on Saturday erases any questions about him, but I do think that it shuts a lot of people up, and I was very happy for him to just kind of have that moment, because who knew if that moment was going to come again this year?
Well, we didn't know because we had not seen much of it, but we saw against West Virginia, but it ended wrong because of the pick in the end zone in the overtime game. So that killed that. We saw it maybe at the end of the game against, who was it? Against Texas Tech, but then there was the third down conversion they didn't have, and there was the pick at the wrong time when Baylor had all the momentum. So he has not been able to finish. Kansas, they had the pretty much control of that game after the first 5 or 6 minutes. When we hear from Dave Aranda at 4, and I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if I actually shared this with anybody yet or no. Dave Aranda, when I asked Max Garner, he played baseball at Baylor, correct? Mm-hmm. Yep. Max Garner, when I tweeted out the quote from Dave Aranda Saturday night about how they're going to have to kill me for us not to win, Max said, well, wait a minute. I've been hard on him, and that's, you know, he played well when the game was on the line. But he said, you know what? Players say that all the time. On the bench, on the sideline, in the dugout, wherever it might be. However, that's not what Charlie did. And Dave Aranda explains why when Charlie said that, it meant something, and how the focus and the attention of the offensive people in that huddle on the sideline was different than anything he had seen this year.
Well, Charlie is a quiet leader. Charlie is not I mean, I don't think any time, even I've been at games or whatever, I mean, even when he was in high school, I've never seen him be the Joey Maguire, let's go guy, where he runs over to the guys and he gets in their face, or, you know, he's not like, you know, I remember seeing Troy Aikman on the sideline one time, like just cursing up a storm in an NFL Films thing, mad at his offensive line and getting after them. I don't think that, I mean, that's not Charlie. And Charlie is a leader that, oh my God, look what he just did. We know we can ride behind him. You heard RJ Sneed in the open. Of course they have faith. They've seen what he can do. But when he does pick his spots and say, okay, let's ride, then everybody's like, holy crap, did Charlie just, all right.
Because he's not one that has done that very often, and you have vocal leaders and you have some that are not. And what's also interesting, and I asked Dave Aranda about this with Charlie and Dave Aranda, when the game was over, to me, the two biggest people that win meant, I know everybody, meant all the way across the athletic department, was for Dave Aranda and maybe Charlie Brewer. Not that it was not as important for Treston Ebner or for R.J. Sneed or for whoever else, but neither one of them said anything about themselves in that moment. It was about teammates, coaches, and Baylor football, which I thought was pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Didi Richards will join us in just a second.
Yeah, so I don't really know if we really want to get into anymore because we got Didi coming up. So I've got plenty more things to say about this game, but I don't know that we have time right here.
Well, we'll have plenty of time in the end. Didi Richards will join us, and then we'll have high school football. Dave Aranda at 4, and a pretty good chunk of time a little bit after Dave Aranda for us to take more of your text messages and more comments as well. This does not, and in fact, I tweeted this out after the game Saturday. Charlie is not flawless. He has warts, bumps, and bruises, some of them literally. But in the moment, on Saturday in the second half, he found a way. And yes, they got very fortunate with the fumble being overruled as well on the play when his knee hit the ground, because I couldn't quite see.
I mean, that was
exactly
not a fumble.
that. It wasn't, but I couldn't. Where I sit, there's a monitor to my right and left, but it doesn't always have what I need. And there's one way up in the right corner, and from where I was watching, I couldn't tell. But you're right, they made the right decision in the end, and it was not a fumble. And thank goodness, because can you imagine that would have just been another way at the end of the game for Charlie to throw a pick or a turnover that would have been it.
Yeah, I was fully expecting the officiating crew to not be able to overturn that or whatever. Forget the exact sequence. They needed video evidence, enough video evidence, so you never know how that's going to go. And so I was worried about that, and I just couldn't believe that there was a chance they were going to lose on something along those lines. It was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But hey, fortunately, it didn't turn out that way. And we can discuss it more a little bit later.
We are now joined by one of the most popular student athletes you could ever imagine that's been at Baylor University. Didi Richards, the senior guard, joins us there in Tampa. The women's basketball team will play tomorrow night against the University of South Florida. And Didi Richards joins us now on Sic'Em365 Radio. First of all, it's great to have you on, Didi. How are you doing? Where are you now in the recovery process?
I'm doing so good. In the recovery process, I'm at the very end. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel right now. I'm just waiting on, a couple answers from a couple of doctors, but that's what's going on right now.
So we had your mom on, I don't know what's that guy's been, about 10 days ago. And she was, by the way, I don't think she ever called you Didi one time. But what's your family been like in this process of you kind of you don't get to see them all the time, but through it, how have they kind of helped carry you through it?
They have been nothing but, the best support I could ever ask for right now. They're constantly calling me. My brother, he's terrible at calling anybody, but he has called me every day to try and figure out how I'm doing and what's going on and, trying to figure out the recovery process. And so is everybody else. So I'm just happy that I have those three behind me every step of the way. And it's even with the extent family, my Meemaw has been calling me. And, my Meemaw, I didn't know she could use FaceTime. She FaceTimed me 3 times the other day. And I'm like, Meemaw, when did you learn how to do that? She's like, well, I want to see you walk. So I would set the phone up and I start walking for him. So it's just been cool having my family around and talking to them every day.
Well, speaking of the support, Didi, I mean, I think you realize you're a Baylor favorite, a Lady Bears favorite. Just seeing the outpouring of support from the fans, and I know you get that, pretty frequently. People love you, but especially in a time like this, the outpouring that you received from the Baylor fans, what was that like?
Oh, it was amazing, and it was just crazy to see, everyone. There's power in prayer. I really believe that, and it was just so exciting and, uplifting to see everyone telling me that they put me on their prayer list or they've been praying for me. So I just really feel like this would have been impossible without, the support of my Baylor fans and the whole NCAA actually across the board.
When we had your mother on, I asked her a question about, was there ever a time when you thought there was no way you could ever go back to doing what you love to do? One, first of all, the most important thing is live a normal life, but also be able to do the things that Didi Richards loves to do. And She said, I need Didi to answer that question for you. So was there ever a time where you were about to give up?
There was a lot. I'm not gonna even, try and front that I was just this happy person the whole time that everyone keeps saying, but there was times where my first day or second day out of the hospital, I go to rehab and they put me on a bike, and all they do is look at me and they're like, move it, move the pedals. And so it was just so hard to see that I couldn't. The gears were on the lowest gears, and I couldn't, pedal at all. So that was one of my lowest moments during this whole, process was that day where the pedals, it took everything out of me to even put my feet in the pedal socket. So I don't know. I think that was one of the lowest moments I've had during this whole, process.
Was it just a kind of an aha moment one day where you're just like, I'm going to try to run, or I'm going to try to do this today?
Not really. With the rehab process, it was, I don't think they gave me an opportunity to just have an aha moment. They kind of, everything was written out for me. So I listened to it. I did everything, right. And so it was just one day they were like, well, Didi, today you're going to run on the Ultra G. And I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, today we're going to try to run. And the Ultra G is this machine where it kind of takes your body weight. You're running with lower body weight than you want. Than you want. So I was running with 60% of my body weight at the time. And they were like, Didi, okay, we'll turn it up to 13 miles per hour. And I'm like, whoa, like we're running. So it was just one of these rehab things that we were doing.
Didi, was there like a day where it just kind of just felt better? Or, I imagine that's something that just kind of builds up over time, but was there a time here recently or that you can recall where you're just like, you know what, I think I'm turning the corner a little bit here?
Honestly, I really think it was, I need to get the date on when I went to the neurologist in Houston, but I think after that day, I was still in a walker and everything, but I could still I was like, okay, Didi, you're going to come back. Like, forget what everybody else is saying. You're going to come back, So it was, I had a walker the next day. I was still shaking. My legs still trembling from, the weight that I had to carry on them. And I was still like, Alex, this is going to be it. Like, we're going to forget the walker today. And so the next day I tried to, start walking out the walker a little bit more. And that, I think from then on, it was kind of a snowball effect. Everything went uphill from there.
Didi, I know you say you have to get a couple more things cleared. Do you feel like you're going to play anytime soon?
I do. I'm feeling a lot better. And I'm confident in my legs and myself. But again, it's just still an injury that I think people think that I've been taking lightly. And I think the doctors can agree that I'm not that they think I'm trying to move too fast. So I think I am able to play, soon. But at the end of the day, my stake is at the hands of the doctors right now.
You mean you can't flash that personality at your doctor, and if he says you're not ready, you may want to change his mind?
I'm going to want to change his mind regardless if he says I'm not ready. But every time they tell me I'm not ready, I shock them. So every time they tell me I'm ready to give them something new.
Didi Richards, Baylor senior guard, with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. She had the collision with Moon Ursin. It's been a while, and initially it was frightening as heck, especially for Didi and for many people, scared to death of the results. And Moon Ursin had the concussion protocol. She was finally cleared. She's with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Craig?
Well, Didi, what did you think of the outing against Central Arkansas the other night?
Repeat, I'm sorry.
What did you think of the ladies' outing against Central Arkansas the other night?
Oh, I loved it. It was so good to get back on the court. Watching the team, regardless of if I was playing or not, it was just good to see, actual referees and a different uniform and different players, because I think we were beating up on each other clearly. So it was good to try and beat up on somebody else.
So I'm going back to these doctors that you talked to, and I know they're all really, really smart, and they know this. Have you thought once, be like, listen, doc, I know that you went to medical school for 7 years, and you've been practicing for a long time, but I think I know me.
All the time. I think I tell Alex that all the time. Alex is our trainer, and even I always ask him, like, what if I know how I feel, and I know that I'm feeling a little better, and he's just like, I think we just need to be more conservative, err on the side of more conservative with this injury. But there's every day whenever I'm doing something new, I realize like, oh shoot, I could have done that a month ago. So it's like at the end of the day, they're right, because they, they're the doctors and they went to school for 7 years and everything. So, they're showing me that I need to work on my patience clearly, because I'm getting so impatient sitting over here.
What was if you had to grade your just normal level, like pre-injury patience, as a patient person, if you had to grade that on a scale of 1 to 10, what kind of patient person are you?
Oh my God, 10 being the worst. On like impatient, I'm 10.
Yes.
Like I was the most impatient person before this injury.
So if
but
you're
now, Yeah.
Like if you're at Disney World and the line goes like just outside where the ride would be, you don't want to. You're going to go to the next one, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm going to leave the whole park because I can't handle it.
I can imagine that. Your mother explained a story one time when she was on her way. I think she was walking out to get the car. Mm-hmm. And she turned around and you were flailing on the ground.
Yes, sir. So what happened, we had walked out of the thing. We had walked out of the Fuzzies. And she was like, Didi, I'm going to go get the car. I should just stand right here. I'm like, she starts walking. So I'm walking behind her. And she's like, with my walker. And she's like, just stay. I'm like, no, I can beat you there on my walker. So you're walking. And she takes off running. So when she took off running, I tried to like pick up speed on my walker. And then Trinity, my teammate, she's like, bye, Didi, or yelled something like behind me. So I tried to turn around as I'm moving, and I missed the curb. So I ended up falling. And my mom came around the corner to come help me get in the car. And then she looked down and I was on the ground and she screamed so loud. Like I was like, before I even saw her face, I'm like, Mom, I'm okay. And then before I could say anything, she was screaming. So it was the funniest thing.
I've been on one of those walkers before. It is not fun after a while. Getting in and out of cars, like banging up against doorways. I know. Right. Yeah, it's a pain.
I had a cane one time because of a broken toe, and that pissed me off to no end. I can't like, and that was just one thing.
Yeah. Didi Richards with
it.
Yeah. We've all had crutches or walkers or something at one time or another, and it's just so frustrating because we take that all for granted, don't we, Didi? We take what we have, even breathing at times, we take it for granted, and it's something that all of a sudden just changed. Your life changed. And did it make you realize what you have?
Definitely. That's definitely the phrase that I've been using, was that I took basketball, I took every day getting up to go turn the light on. I took little things like that for granted, So I think their first question is, did it make you appreciate basketball? I'm like, it made me appreciate walking. Like, what the heck? I can't even, go get up and brush my teeth by myself. I need my mom. I can't go pee. I can't go get a Rice Krispie treat or nothing at night. So it made me appreciate little things that was taken away from me in the blink of an eye.
A Rice Krispie treat at late in the night? That's a good go-to, huh?
That's my go-to. Around like 11:30, I'll get up and go get a Rice Krispie treat.
That's awesome. A lot of people were praying for you, obviously. Craig, anything else for Didi, Paul, as well? Didi, we're so happy for you. We're thrilled for you. Keep doing what those doctors and rehab and your trainers, they've done an incredible job. Did you feel the love, and have you felt the love from Baylor Nation and really all around the country basketball people?
I definitely felt the love, and that's what I want to, emphasize the most, is the support that was given to me across the boards, especially from Baylor Nation. So I just want to thank everyone for, the constant support and the prayers that y'all put out, because without y'all, we don't know where I could have been.
Yeah, Craig, you had asked that very basically the same thing. Again, Didi, thank you very much. We appreciate it. God bless and take care.
All right, thank you.
It's Didi Richards, Baylor senior guard, and they play South Florida tomorrow. She's not going to be a part of that, but she says she's getting close. They play South Florida on Tuesday. Arkansas on the road on the 6th, that's Sunday. And then they start conference play December the 10th on trips at West Virginia.
Yeah, it's coming soon. And it's just so great to hear from Didi. She's always fun to talk to.
Yeah,
by the way, so before we go, and we got kind of a long segment here, I want to get this out because I want your reactions to it. So Sam Cosmi and now Caden Stearns have reportedly opted out for the rest of the season for the Longhorns. And Tom Herman's on the hot seat. But a website called Austonia.com is saying that Urban Meyer's wife is said to be eyeing Austin real estate. Where have we heard this before?
Well, back when they were looking for a coach after Mac Brown was fired, and Nick Saban's wife was apparently looking for things in Austin as well.
So buckle up, Horns fans. Your fourth choice is on the way.
You know who wins in all this? Those
Everyone.
who cover them, the message boards. We're part of a message board. When things like this happen, it's like people join because they want to feel like level 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 level sources that a lot of the times it's not always there.
I mean, I think it was pretty evident that certain UT media folks were chumming this up for the message boards. One side in particular, that's why you ask a question and mention Urban Meyer in the same question. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing. They've been peddling this storyline for more than a month now, and I'm sure there's some fact to it, but Urban Meyer's not the head coach of Texas right now, but some media members have certainly made it their job to try and make that happen, which is not their job to make happen.
If they get him, God bless, good. He will win wherever if in fact he ever coaches again, where he goes, he will win, and he will win big, because certain guys are going to do that. If Nick Saban was younger and he went somewhere else, he would win. It's just the way it's going to be. All right, coming up next, high school football, 2 teams. Actually, there's a rematch coming up in 2A Division I between Bosqueville and Crawford. Crawford won the first game 27-20. They'll meet in the quarterfinals. We'll have all the high school football scheduled from Central Texas. Have that for you at 4:45. Mart has a game with Tenaha. These are 2 elite multi-state championship Class 2A programs. They've met once because they've always been kind of on the wrong side of either the bracket for whatever reason, or the year, or divisions. But it's the first time they've met. Kevin Hoffman told me since 2009, and Mart beat them when they were 8-4 and Tenaha was 12-0 and undefeated. I think Tenaha may have won the state championship 2 years later. So coming up, Kevin Hoffman of Mart, also Greg Jacobs of Crawford. My conversation one-on-one with Dave Aranda. I hope you enjoy what he says and listen closely to what he does say. This is Sic'Em365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got the holiday savings event going on right now, and time to take advantage of some great deals. It's the most wonderful time of the year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock and incoming 2021 GMC Sierras. And Sierra is a truck with it all. Power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Texas Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Well, Richard Carr is offering $7,000 off GMC Terrains or $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. The ultimate gift this Christmas is a Cadillac. Save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. And let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or at the office. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all of these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's a holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Save big at the holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sic'Em365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Mart Panthers football coach Kevin Hoffman is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, First National Bank of Central Texas.
As good as Mart has been over the years, and as good as Tenaha has been over the years, you and I had a conversation before we started that you've only played them really in recent memory once, and that was 11 years ago. Is that kind of a surprise to you?
Yeah, I think that we've been in just the different divisions throughout the years, and just hadn't crossed paths with them. So it's been a while since we played them.
And then looking back at that one, you told me about that one. You won 25-22. They were unbeaten. You had lost 4 games. You played good people, but you ended up winning that game. You're now facing them again. They've gotten hot. They've got the kid J.J. Patton, who's obviously a very talented young man. What do you see from him on film?
He's very talented, as is the rest of their team. I think they look a lot like we do. Got skill positions and skilled players all over the field, both sides of the ball. And just they probably throw it a little more than we do. But they're very talented, and we're going to have our hands full.
Well, and I was going to ask you this, and you kind of answered it, but you don't face too many teams that you can look in the mirror and they look like you, or vice versa. And Tenaha's always been that way. I covered them for many years when I was in East Texas, and they had some fantastic teams. But so this is one of the few times, right, that you play somebody that can probably run with you?
Yes, sir. We were talking about that earlier this morning, that it was kind of a mirror image that when you look across at this position or that position or whatever, they're as talented and as skilled as we feel like we are. And, we typically don't, play people that have that type of skill all over the field. Typically there's 1 or 2 guys on another team that, are very talented, very skilled, can run, can do everything. But these guys got it all.
You mentioned to me when you played the last time in 2009, and when you won that game 25-22, you built up a big lead. But the coolest part of that memory to me was, one, you won the game, is you mentioned you kicked like 5 or 6 field goals in that game. That's at high school, any level, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. We had an all-state kicker back then, and he kicked several field goals, and I just remember the hype from all the lead up to the game. And that was my first year as the offensive coordinator here for Coach Nail, and that game was pretty hyped up all week, and like you said, they were undefeated. We had four losses at that point, and we built that big lead 25-0, and then second half we kind of decided that we were going to play the clock game and just eat up the clock and try to shorten their possessions. And the other thing, I remember is their quarterback that they had got hurt and went out, and we were like, okay, well, they're going to have to put a backup in there, and that was the fast kid that went on to win the state track meet in the 100, and he was a receiver, and they moved him a quarterback, and we were like, okay, well, this looks good for us. And then I think the first snap he went 80 for a touchdown, and we were like, oh no, I hope they bring their starter back in. Yeah, we just held on and held them off at the end.
Yeah, I think Reginald Davis was a young man that ended up going on, helped win a state championship, ended up going on to play for Texas Tech, and that's how it happens. Sometimes the opportunity arises. So here you are. I mean, this is the quarterfinal round. You've been here 1,000 times, it seems like, and I saw the stat line of Rodrell Freeman. It almost could be like this every week, but one of the things is you see what he does on offense, but he's also a phenomenal defensive end, and what he can do with your kick return. I know there's other people, but really now that you've had a chance to experience him, and for almost 4 full years, your thoughts about Rodrell Freeman and the history of Mart football?
Yeah, he's as talented as they get, and he's been a staple for us on defense for 4 years now, and he's played every game in his whole high school career on defense. He's just helped us here the last 2 years and a few games his sophomore year on offense. But yeah, he's a talented kid, and when he makes up his mind that he wants to play, he's as good as any that's ever come through here. But there's been a lot of talented players come through Mart, Texas, and but as from a team standpoint, we got a lot of guys on this team that can play and contribute, and he's been part of probably what's been the greatest run of team football for 4 years.
Hi, this is Crawford AD head football coach Greg Jacobs, and you're listening to Sic'Em365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Crawford Pirates football coach Greg Jacobs is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, MP Electric.
Greg, you're in the quarterfinals, and I obviously somebody you know pretty well. You had a great game with Bosqueville earlier this year, back in, I believe it was in late October. When you played them then, I know it seemed like a long time ago, and it is. Did you think there was a chance you could see them again?
Well, after finishing that game and realizing, just how good they were, we were playing well at the time too. So, it looked like it could happen at some point in time. They had really improved over the course of the year, and I was really impressed with their play. So if they'd have continued at that pace, I thought it might be a chance we might meet up again. Well,
and here you are, and obviously you guys take care of your business against Alvord, and you keep hammering the football with your running game with Pearson and Chambers. Obviously Miranda, what he does at quarterback. How comfortable are you right now with, and I know it all starts up front, but how comfortable are you right now with what you can do on offense?
Well, we've been working to try to be, more multiple week by week, trying to find ways to utilize some skill positions and just find ways to move the ball, take advantage of what the other team's given us, and we've been fortunate to make a difference with that. So yeah, I'm very pleased with it.
It's one thing to try to become more multiple or more balanced, and yet again, it's also when you have to be. You feel like you've been able to prove that you, when you've had to throw the ball, you can, and not only when you get yourself in position where you're behind, because you haven't had to trail very often. Yeah, that's true. I think our kids realize that, in order to be successful and continue this winning, you're going to have to be able to be multiple. And they worked hard at trying to utilize different ideas, different schemes, different ways that, we can move the ball up and down the field. And I think they've gained more confidence in the different ways that we're doing that week by week. And they have a lot of confidence in their ability. And I think, for the most part, if one thing kind of slows down, they have confidence we can pick it up in another area. So we've been pretty balanced. We utilize the run game. Of course, that's our bread and butter, but we worked hard to
to establish a passing game, and so far we've been pretty successful with it.
Yeah, and of course you play great defense as well. Luke Bradshaw's had a really good year for Bosqueville. There's no doubt about it. He in fact, the passing game, as you and I spoke a little bit earlier, kind of allowed them to chip away and then hit a couple of bombs to come back against a very good team in Lindsay. How good is their passing game?
Well, they're very effective in what they do. They're really good up front. They're really good up front, and so they establish a strong running game with that, and they mix in their RPO game, and then their skilled receivers that they have are very good as well. So, they lull you to sleep in one area, and then they'll sting in another. So they're real balanced in what they do offensively. They really take advantage of what the defense gives them. They look to different ways to try to move the ball just like we do. So it'll be an interesting matchup come next Friday.
And you've known Clint for a long, long time and what he's done with that program. He's been there now for over a decade. Your thoughts about what he does with Bosqueville?
Well, they've just gotten better in all areas, and I think tribute to his staff and Coach Zander. They really worked hard to make an overall better, stronger program in all phases of the game. And it's really come to fruition this year. They really put together a good team.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At
Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
First down and goal for Baylor, and Brewer over the middle. He has Ebner in for a touchdown.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'Em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Football coach Dave Aranda with me on Sic'Em365 Radio. I learned something in that post game when I asked a question to you about Charlie Brewer, and you talked about his emotions, and yet sometimes you can't see them, and I asked if there are similarities between the two of you. But also I learned that when we asked about the game and what it meant, the win, you talked about everybody else but you, and so did Charlie. What does that say about the two of you?
Yeah, I think Charlie's a team guy. I think he's always been that way, and I think when we were losing, I think Charlie hurt. I know he did, and I think he was up. He still is. He's up here right now. He's up here all the time, and I think he's really, really working hard to get it right. And so I just feel when you're around guys like that, it's inspiring because you don't want to let them down and you want to do more. And I think that's what you saw, I feel, Saturday night in the second half. And I think, we talk about it in terms of just person to person, just kind of being just in terms of relationships. I can't be all I can be unless you are all you can be. And I don't know if there's a greater example of that than the second half of our Kansas State game.
I know that wins and losses are on top of what resumes when people look at a head coach and or even the quarterback position. It's very similar. What did that mean to you and your staff? Because I know it's been a long and tough, arduous kind of a year for so long. What did that win mean, at least getting a win, and how does that affect this week?
I think it is a shot in the arm for the team. I think it's a shot in the arm for the staff. I feel that you look at the last couple of weeks and you're building on positives. You're getting really detailed about how to stomp out these negatives, and then you're focused on building your team and continuing to learn and grow. And I think the Sundays, the Mondays are tough, and then by the time we get to Tuesday, it's a great Tuesday. And then you have a great Wednesday, and you have a great Thursday. And for however many weeks, that's what it's been. And so I think that came out a little bit when we were talking last, because that first half of our game, this past Saturday was not what we've been through the previous weeks. And so to get back to that and to have everything else kind of settle and for us to start focusing on the stuff we can control, that was us. And so I think when you have a win, it can accelerate some of those Sunday, Mondays, grind that we've been working through.
Why can't the offense play like that in the first half?
Well, we have, yeah.
Yeah, in Iowa State you did, and Texas Tech, yeah.
Right. And so I think there is a confidence piece there. I think guys looking for guys to make plays. Are you going to step out there? Is it me? Am I stepping out there? Or I thought it was you. I think there is some of that, and I think to have Charlie be the guy stepping out there, is rightfully so. That's the right guy. But then you look at, like, in the second half, you look at the big, Ebner turning on the screen, and you look at a couple hard runs with John, and you look at some clutch catches with RJ, Taekwon on the slant. So just guys just fed off of guys making plays. And so, I think once if you've done it one time, you can do it again. If you've shown you can do it once, you can do it again. And so I think that's been the message here since Saturday night.
I have to be honest. On Saturday at halftime, I had asked you last week about do you ever think about rock bottom? And I was thinking maybe this is the rock bottom, because obviously these next two opponents you're playing are really, really talented and very good, and so is Kansas State. Was that did you kind of go into halftime like, golly? And are you a fiery speech guy? And did you say anything in particular? Did you peel the paint off the wall? That doesn't seem to be you, but what was said?
No, I think I always try to see what's going wrong, and then do everything we can to try to address what's, being honest about what's wrong, and then work to fix it. And I think, what I saw was just the losing creeping in, and guys getting out of the moment, not focusing on the job that was at hand, but focusing instead on stuff you can't control. And that's the 1 in 5. That's the here we go again. That's the I was afraid of this happening and all of that. That's I think the penalties were that. I think the stalling on offense was that, and some of the miscues on defense I feel was that. And so I think addressing that, being real honest about it, and then focusing on just what we can control, being in the moment, taking advantage of the opportunities we have, and really speaking specifically to Lovett and Ebner and Charlie, RJ, a couple of our core guys that, we got to focus on doing your job. You do your job, the rest of the guys are going to climb in this thing with you. And that's what we did.
You made a comment that Charlie, at the end or sometime during the game, said they're going to have to basically kill me to beat us or whatever. And I had an athlete tell me, hey, that's said all the time. People say that all the time, but not everybody says it, and surely not everybody, when they say it, do they succeed. And the fact he actually said it and then did it, how important is that?
Yeah, I think it's important, and when he said it, I think it's also what I would add to what you said there. I think everything you said is right. I agree. But the thing I would say too is it would be, I think there's certain folks that say stuff like that all the time, and then there's others that really don't say anything. So when they do say something and there's emotion behind it, because I know when he said it in the huddle off on the sideline, all myself and all the 10 other guys all kind of turned and looked at him in his eye, and all of that was real, man. So he's coming, and so I think everyone felt that for sure. And then I think on defense, everyone could see it, and so I think we talked about Saturday night just going to the sidelines and saying, hey, this is what our guy is doing. We got to back his play, and so inspiring.
Your players love him. There's no question, and they love everybody. Everyone's all in. There's always going to be some things, clicks, whatever, some back and forth. But R.J. Sneed, when he was asked by somebody about whether or not they believed in Charlie to take him down the field, he said, "Have you all forgotten what this man has done over the last 3 years? Isn't that also something that you've hung on to as well, and the team has hung on to despite the tough times throughout the year?"
That's a good question. I sometimes wonder how much, and this is all hard to talk about because I don't want it to sound as an excuse. I think, one of the things I could have done a lot better at the beginning of the year was to make sure that both sides of the ball going into it, plans were tighter. And I feel like that's something that I didn't do. I feel that we've tightened down on everything we're doing from probably the West Virginia game on. I feel, and we've gotten better because of it. I think a lot of that is knowing our people. And so what I was about to say was not having spring and not going through that. It's almost there's a recipe there of not good things when you're talking about not knowing your people, and then coordinators and coaches kind of separate, right? Just studying tape all day, right? Because at that point everything's good. Everything's a good idea because there's nothing that doesn't work, right? There's nothing that doesn't need fixing. There's just, hey, this is good, that is good. And so I think I should have had a better awareness of that. And I feel like as we've gone on, really after that West Virginia game, we've gotten better and better with that. And I think, you look at this past game, there's a lot of semblance in this past game to some of the things that happened the year previous and things that guys were comfortable with. And it's kind of morphed into that. And I think that's smart because that's what our guys can do, and that's what they're comfortable with, and that's what helps us win.
There's a lot of head coaches that wouldn't say that. That might say it behind the scenes or whatever, but for you to publicly, not that you're admitting something, it's not that, but the fact that it's been tough to do that, right? It's been kind of hard to maybe have this thing cohesive across the board.
Well, you just don't know. I think you have an idea of who your people are, but there's a fair amount of work we've done on just knowing who our people are as people, first of all, and just with everything off the field. And I think we're still learning that. But there's a lot of work that goes in, and then you talk about who they are as players, and is it best? Are they best in press? Are they best off? Are they best with option routes? Are they best with this or that? One high, two high. Are they best? In the slide? Are they best on the outside? There's a bunch of stuff. And it keeps on going. And then, quarterback-wise, full field reads, half field reads, 1-2 out, move in the pocket, checking this, checking that, or just let it play. And so I think all of those things, you always have an idea when you start, but you don't know until you know. And I think not having some of that time, we learned it early in the year, and I feel we've adjusted and gotten better because of it.
There are players who are the ones everyone sees, and you've lost some key players along the way. That happens every year with attrition, injuries, whatever. But there's Jaron McVay. I'm going to bring him up. He doesn't get attention. He made a tackle inside the 5-yard line that prevented an easy touchdown, and they settled for a field goal. He's now learned both safety positions. He's also learned to play the star linebacker position. And isn't that really, when football is the ultimate team game, someone like him is one of the examples of having to do so much and then being counted on to do it when his time comes, an ejection, an injury, whatever else?
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a great example of the team. I think that's us in a lot of ways. As you look at guys that are doing whatever they can, whatever is within their power and their limits to help. And, that's how I feel, and when I'm around, when I'm around our team, that's the vibe that I get. And there is a piece of me that feels like it's good that other people see it too, that they see the sacrifices guys are making, because they've been making it under some tough circumstances. Whether it's off-field stuff, on the field, not having the success that we all want. And so for them to keep at it and stay with it and then get recognized, it's good.
Dave, one more thing. You obviously now move on to play Oklahoma. They've been part of the standard of college football for decades, except one stretch maybe in the late 90s before Bob Stoops arrived. You were at LSU, and they have their history as well. You've been at places that have had a history. What do you think of when you think of Oklahoma football?
For me, I think of Coach Stoops. I remember being at Tech and our first year there. That was the year that OU won it all. So I remember walking off the field, and I think people were throwing oranges on the field and stuff. And so I remember those years. I remember their linebackers. I remember their they had a shifty little running back, was really good. And so just there's a great history there. I know it goes further than just Coach Stoops, but just for me, my personal experience, it's that. But I know a lot of their staff. I'm friends with them. They were on the staff that I was on, a lot of them. When I was at Tech, I think their O-line coach, Bill Beanbo, and I shared an office for 3 years. And so Bill's a great person, great coach, and so it's I have a lot of friends over there, a lot of respect for them. I know they're going to come out swinging, and so are we. It's a great venue, and it's a great time slot, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
Dave Aranda, head football coach at Baylor, on Sic'Em365 Radio.
We'll have Jason King of Sic'Em365, our basketball insider, along Ashley Hodge in that role as well. Jason will join us on Baylor's weekend as well, plus more on Baylor's win against Kansas State at 5 o'clock. Phil Bennett, Orion Stewart at 5:30, and in between that, we'll hear a little bit from Shoemaker's head coach Toby Foreman on the offer to Monterey Baldwin, who is trying to get people waving his hands. Hey, this kid can play at a Division I level. Some stories about the connections between Toby and the Baylor staff that I didn't know about until earlier today. All right, coming up next, we'll do that. Next, 254-339-1122, also the text line available, and would love to see your reactions and questions and comments coming up next. So, on average, an MRI can cost about $1,100. Depending on where you get it, that means you take a lot of different prices that people pay, and on average, it's $1,100. So what would it feel like to be able to get an MRI for less than half of the average? And you can get that at Ideal MRI, idealmri.com. Their location in the Central Texas Marketplace, just off I-35 as you start to take the exit onto Highway or Loop 340 and also Highway 6. Ideal MRI, their cost $497 for an MRI or less every time. Not the average of $1,100, $497 or less every single time. Their MRI machine is state-of-the-art technology. The specialists in tech are fantastic. It is so simple. If you want to, you're worried about, okay, I don't want, they will take care of all of your concerns when it comes to the MRI. If you've been someone that's had problems about getting inside that, what I call almost like a tube or a tunnel, I've had that problem as well. I've had a handful of MRIs. This one was as smooth as anything I've ever taken, anything I've ever done. And it was because the techs and the specialists, they sat down. They didn't have to babysit me. They were honest about it. And then while I was inside, the person that was running the machine was fantastic. The check-in, you can go online, idealmri.com. So let's say you have something that's more than just sore, something more than a bump or bruise, something that hurts and has terrible pain, and your doctor has told you you need an MRI. Ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. Every scan is performed on the state-of-the-art machine. Or inside the machine. $497 or less every single time. at idealmri.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, we've heard from Dave Aranda. We've had a little bit of the high school football with Mart and Crawford, high school players of the week, and Craig's Q&A high school football summary. In the next segment, Phil Bennett, Orion Stewart, among others in the 5 o'clock hour, and more on the Baylor win. We've also heard from Didi Richards live from Tampa. Great to hear from her. Jason King, Sic'Em365 basketball insider, joins us now live on Sic'Em365 Radio. And as much attention as the football team got, Jason, for a much-needed win, my goodness, I know they gave up a lot of points Saturday, and Jerome Tang kind of hammered away at that, but could they have had a better start other than Well, they're going to have a great week with Illinois and Gonzaga coming up. But could they have had a better, more impressive start with what they did?
Yeah, no kidding. What a great weekend for just Baylor sports overall. And, I don't see how you just can't be so excited right now about this Baylor basketball team. I mean, a lot of teams have come out first couple of games, look a little rusty, or, they'll have one good game and then turn around and almost lose the next or lose the next like a Virginia did when they were ranked number 4 last week. But I just thought both times Baylor just came out and absolutely dominated their opponent. And sure, I mean, you can nitpick and talk about defense and rebounding, and those are things that if they don't improve on it, could catch up to them this week. But for the first 2 games, including one against the Power 5 school in Washington that beat them last year, another against the Louisiana Lafayette team that's going to contend for their conference title, I could have been more impressed. And there's just a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a basketball fan right now.
All right, but you mentioned that about defense and rebounding. Is part of that just the fact that they had to play 2 games in 2 days that they didn't know that they were going to play, and this week has been kind of like pickup sticks for them logistically before they got to roll it out against anybody?
Yeah, I mean, especially that first game. I mean, they didn't really have time to scout Lafayette or probably learn much about them. They just kind of went out there and rolled the ball out and played, and still did a magnificent job offensively. And, Lafayette's a good team. They got good guards. And they shoot a lot of threes. So, I mean, they didn't rebound great. But gosh, the next game, I mean, they won the rebounding battle against Washington 50-19. 50-19. When do you see a stat like that? I think that the biggest question entering this season, to me is just, losing Freddie Gillespie down low, not having Tristan Clark anymore. I mean, it's like how well is JTT going to step up? What kind of year is Vital going to have? Is he going to be as good as always? Is Loveday going to, be a contributor? Basically, what kind of post presence are they going to have? I thought JTT, I was so encouraged by watching him play. I mean, just his athleticism, how quickly he gets up and down the court, his aggression. If you wanted to nitpick, his performance over the weekend, you could say there was some shots that he didn't finish down low that he probably should have made. But still, overall, for a guy playing significant minutes for the first time in 2 years, and basically for the first time in his college career, I was really encouraged by what I saw.
Jason, you mentioned presence, and speaking of presence, how about the presence of Jerome Tang filling in for Scott Drew? Obviously, not something that he's unaccustomed to necessarily, but I mean, it sure seems like more and more people are opening their eyes to the fact that Jerome Tang should probably be a head coach in the near future. Just your thoughts on that, and him filling in for Drew.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of good publicity, and rightfully so. He deserves it. He's an interesting story because when Scott Drew, took the Baylor job and hired Jerome Tang, at that time he didn't have a college degree, and he was coaching I guess it was a prep school team or one of those kind of teams that everyone said, oh, they just hired him to be a recruiter. He's not ever going to be a coach. He's just a hired gun to come in and get big name players, and he even admitted, that was kind of his role those first 2 years, but to see how he's blossomed into a good X's and O's coach. And, sure, you see it in the games this past weekend, but even when you go to their practices, which I've been to multiple times over the past 4 or 5 years, you could just see how big of a role he plays in developing players and working with guys on their skill set, and obviously drawing up game plans for opponents. I mean, he's really kind of blossomed into just a stud assistant coach. And I think he probably could have already had a head coaching job somewhere, but I think he's just waiting for something that really fits him. And I hate to say it, but I don't think he'll be around, too much longer at Baylor because he's just doing too good of a job, and Baylor's doing too good of a job. But couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He's done a lot of media the past few days. I think everyone now, that's good for him too, because people are seeing just what a class act he is and how funny and just personable he is, and those are big things too.
No question. And we had him on Friday, and the way he handled everything, it was phenomenal. Jason, they have so many weapons. They had weapons if they would have just had everyone back from last year, but then you had those who couldn't play, red-shirted, whatever. And then we see what Cryer and, of course, Flagler and among others and JTT. They're dripping. They're dripping with so much, and sometimes that's hard to keep them all satisfied. But this staff seems to have, and the leaders of this team seem to have kind of a perfect mix of understanding what's most important in the big picture. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They're just so selfless. That's what I love about it. Because, I mean, let's look at those guards. They have five like high-level guards that could all be the star on just about any other team. I mean, and with Butler and Mitchell and Teague, as the starters. But, I mean, I think Flagler is darn near just as good as any of them. Everyone kind of has the things they're better at than others, but he's a big time player. And Cryer coming in, hitting 5 threes in his first ever college game. Guy that averaged, I think, 38 points or 35 points as a senior in high school. He's going to be an absolute stud. Your initial worry is how are they going to manage all that talent? But I just think the guys' minds are in such a good place that it's not going to be an issue. I still think the only issue with this team is just going to be, again, I wish they had one more of those. I wish they were a little more deep in the paint, I guess. Maybe one more big guy. But man, the amount of scoring that this team has. We haven't even talked about Matthew Meyer. That guy can go off for 20 points anytime. They were just all heavy. They averaged 14 3-pointers in their first 2 games. They shot whatever it was, 28 of 56 from 3-point range. That's 50%. Their ability to score, pretty much with anyone they put in the lineup is really, I think, what's going to separate them.
So, Jason, as the football game was rolling along in the first half on Saturday, a lot of people were making the comment like, oh, so basketball's on, and, eventually probably flipped back over. But the name that kept coming across the tweets as people were flipping back and forth was L.J. Cryer. Just what have you taken away from what you've seen from him in this short sample size? And I know you had an awareness of him previously as well, but obviously he gave people a lot of reason to be excited, especially on Saturday.
Yeah, I was a little surprised he didn't get more minutes Sunday. I think we got to halftime. I'm not sure he even played in the first half against Washington. Or if he did, it was sparingly. But I was thinking, where is he? Because he was so good on Saturday. But that just goes back to how we're going to get minutes for all these guys. But, the reports I've heard out of practice, I keep telling everyone, I talk to the coaches, I'm like, man, y'all have so many shooters. I'm like, you've got Flagler and Butler and Teague. And they're like, and Cryer's better than any of them. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, as a 3-point shooter, he may be our best 3-point shooter on the team. He's just a pure scorer. And, that's what excites me, more than anything is just his ability to put the ball in the basket. And, I think anytime you got a freshman, you're going to worry about them really getting it defensively. Like how, when is he really going to lock in and become an elite defensive player? Sometimes it takes guys 2 or 3 years to get to that level. But offensively, I think right now he's there. And the other thing I liked about him when I saw him play this weekend is I just didn't see him mess up a lot. In other words, he didn't get sped up. He didn't seem overwhelmed playing at the Division I level. He just already had that presence about him on the court. He just looks so natural out there. And, a lot of times you get freshmen in their first game and they're dribbling it off their foot or they're shooting an air ball, but he just was up there carrying himself and passing the ball around like he was a seasoned junior or senior. So that was real encouraging.
Well, for L.J. Cryer to learn defense, they should just tell him, watch Davion Mitchell do every single thing that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot of good defensive role models. When you got two of the 3 finalists, Smith, National Defensive Player of the Year on your team. Those are good people, and that's going to be tough for Baylor to match last year's defensive output. Statistically they were one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country. I think Freddie Gillespie was a huge part of that. There may be a little bit of a drop off in the paint as JTT kind of learns his way down there, but I thought he looked good early on too. So lots of reasons to be excited. But this week, when have we ever seen this in the history of Baylor basketball? When you play a number 5 and a number 1, within a 2 or 3 day span, when you're ranked number 2. These are some huge moments, and I think the world's going to be watching. Everyone's hungry to sit down and watch some good basketball, and they got the opportunity this week.
It's Illinois, and then Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And thank goodness, and Scott Drew and Jerome Tang said this to us on Friday, he didn't sleep for like 3 nights trying to find some games. And he got tested a little bit, even though Washington's not who they were a year ago, or Baylor's even better. How important was it to play just human beings before you go into Indianapolis against those two?
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't have to open their season against Illinois. You want to just kind of go out there and get some confidence and feel good about yourself and shake off any rust you may have. And they got that done. And I think that was the perfect setup for this week. Maybe Arizona State and Villanova would have been better, but I think this was fine. Illinois is a really good team. They're physical. They like to play fast, I believe. Brad Underwood's the former Oklahoma State coached under Frank Martin for a long time. Stephen F. Austin as well, did great things there. So he's a high-level coach. I know he's one of Scott Drew's better friends in the coaching profession. I think Mark Few's right up there too. So 2 different styles of teams, but 2 teams that have really had some success early on. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Jason, you mentioned about the guys learning defense, and they have good defenders on the team, and Mark Vital's still there. But will they maybe not have to play? I mean, you mentioned it. Their offense is so good, they might be playing a slightly different style this year, right? So maybe their defense doesn't have to be shut you down every time the court.
Well, they certainly did expend so much energy last year just playing that high level intensity, when it comes to playing defense. And I still think they'll try to do a lot of that. I think that's just in Davion Mitchell's nature. It's in Mark Vital's nature. But, again, you might not see quite as many, 40-point games from opponents and stuff like that as you did last year. But it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm kind of with you, though. I want to see this team push the ball and get in the open court and play fast with all these guards and all these scores. I mean, I think this is a team that they're so talented offensively that they can put games away early. I mean, just like last night. I mean, it was 31-7 at one point. They were up by as much as 37 points. I mean, neither of those games was ever in question because they just took it to them right off the bat. And so I think we'll see a lot of that as well.
Jason, just what have you thought overall on the start to college basketball? Obviously, a lot of cancellations. There was a lot of controversy surrounding, Baylor's trip and canceled trip, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of conferences with a lot of different sets of rules. And Matt Groth said to us last week that he, in hindsight, wishes that they would have answered some of these questions prior to the season. But it is what it is. What are your thoughts on the way it started?
Really frustrating. I'm really kind of excited right now because of what we saw this weekend. But Scott Drew even said last night when I talked to him, we're one COVID test away from not getting to play at all this week. Whether that's with Baylor or Illinois that might have a test, you just never know. And I was real disappointed, in Villanova and Arizona State, opting to basically boycott Baylor last week. I thought that was ridiculous and a bad look for them. You've got, Nick Saban had COVID. You didn't see, Auburn backing out of their game against Alabama. I thought Baylor did everything they could to make sure their players didn't get it and kept Scott Drew isolated. And I don't know. I hated that happened. But what I don't like is just everyone kind of seems to be operating by a different set of rules, a different set of guidelines. And, it's making it really difficult. And I guess we just have to cross our fingers that, a vaccine comes along soon and some of these cancellations, slow down a little bit. But it's been a frustrating start. And I just hope that, by the time conference play rolls around, there's a little bit more, it's just calmed down a bit. But heck, that's in 2 or 3 weeks, or about 2 weeks when Baylor plays Texas, I believe it's December 12th or 13th. So it's coming up fast. But I think it's going to be a real uneven, unorthodox season, and kind of like it has been in football. And but hopefully they at least get all their conference games in, even if it's a bunch of makeups. By the time the tournament rolls around, hopefully things will be back to normal.
Yesterday evening, whatever it was, when Jerome Tang was in the post game, he mentioned that Vital and Mitchell are kind of the ones that make the engine go. If you had to pick between those two, knowing the other guys can score and how good they are, Butler, Teague, among others, who's the straw that stirs their drink?
Well, I think that, Mitchell's so good. I know if he were to go down or something, I think that they have other guys that could play that position where I think, and probably not as good, especially not defensively. And I do think he's kind of emerged as a leader out there. I heard a couple of times the announcer, actually I thought did a pretty good job on that Flow Sports, for not knowing the teams very well. But I heard that he was kind of getting all over Cryer and yelling at him for some mistakes he made, freshman mistakes. And I even loved how during the offseason, Mitchell was the one texting recruits and congratulating them on picking Baylor. I just love how he's kind of emerged as a leader. So he may be the straw that stirs the drink. But I just think from a impact standpoint, the impact that Mark Vital makes on the game when he's in there is probably as good as anyone on the team. When you look at his stat sheet, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, whatever it was, 8 points. I just think the team is so much better when he's on the court, and if he were to go down, I think it would be a massive loss.
Well, remember what the coaches will tell you about Davion Mitchell. They have to actually at times tell him, you need to stop practicing, go home. Right. And still, just take a break. Right. You have an hour to yourself. Watch TV, something, anything else.
It's funny, someone the other day said, Jason, I've heard you say that Mark Vital is your favorite player on the team, whatever. And I have said that. But I like all these guys. I mean, like you could tell me any player on the team and ask me to pick something that I love about him, and I could easily do it. And there's just not much negative about any of them either. And it's not just the way they play on the court, but they're all. That's the thing is you guys cover them too. They're just a bunch of good guys, and it's just so refreshing to see that chemistry. And they're good ambassadors for the school. Mentally, they're all in the right place as far as being team first, not caring about their stats, and it's just a neat thing to watch. And I don't think people realize how special it is to have that kind of cohesion and that kind of character. 1 through 12 or however many are on the roster, in the locker room. And I think that's a huge part of their success. So I really like all those guys. And Vital's kind of emerged as a favorite, but they all are favorites in their own way.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate your work, and good to have you back with us. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks, guys.
We are too. His work last year, almost all but embedded with the basketball team, and down the stretch until everything was shut down, was phenomenal. Sic'Em365 Basketball Insider. He and Ashley have that podcast that they do that's fantastic as well. Just saw this note, a couple of NFL notes. The game between the Ravens and Steelers has been pushed back to Wednesday of this week, which then you wonder how that affects the Cowboys. That the game's already been pushed back from what was Thursday to next week. Also, Will Fuller, Texans star wide receiver, suspended 6 games, a PED violation. Xavier Howard, his 7th interception this weekend. He has more interceptions by himself than 8 teams. 1/4 of the league does not have 7 interceptions as a team.
I know one of them.
Oh, yeah. So that's some of the NFL news from today. Bravion
I don't think
Roy
they've
got
had
a
7
sack
interceptions in 2 years.
Bravion Roy had a sack for Carolina and a gut-wrenching loss for Matt Rule and company. It just seemed like, I don't know what, they wanted to put I hate the prevent, but they kind of went after the quarterback and he burned them. It was some weird games yesterday. But how about the Raiders getting smoked? Just destroyed by, was it Atlanta?
The awful Falcons.
49-3. I'm just
43-6.
Yeah, something like that. All right, coming up next.
You don't ever see scores like that in the NFL.
No,
hardly
you don't.
Ever, and especially not, a team like the Falcons doing that to you is just that's kind of weird.
Without Julio Jones.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened there.
And Todd Gurley.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't add up. It really doesn't. That performance with the way the Raiders have been playing. So that was quite an interesting result. And Will Fuller, that's interesting. Texans haven't had a whole lot to really be excited about this year. It's been kind of a rough season.
The NFL opted him out for the rest of the season.
I just had to tell somebody that Will Fuller is suspended for the 6 games.
Oh, dear. Oh, no.
I forgot. I didn't even think about that.
See? And it's not a good time.
It's not. No,
it's not a good time.
No, it's not.
And we'll discuss that with Jennifer Smoke on Thursday with her fantasy football team that has created a lot of drama. Let's put it that way.
I will say we haven't talked Cowboys. I will say it was kind of nice to not have the Sunday drama of here's 5 hours of breakneck, white-knuckled, like what's going to happen here football. And that's because their games are always just so wonky and so weird. But, it was kind of nice to not have that and just kind of focus on the rest of the league yesterday. But we got plenty on Thanksgiving, obviously.
We sure did. And coming up next, we'll have, the high school football players of the week. Look at what teams in Central Texas, from private school 6-man teams all the way up to who's left in 6A and 5A wrapping up their regular seasons. All of that and more. Plus, Craig and I and Paul will look back at the high school football weekend. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Maybe you've tried to lose weight. Sometimes it's worked and sometimes it has not. And you're trying to find maybe one more thing that just might fit you. Or maybe you try one more way to lose weight in inches so something might fit you better. Muscle-wise nutrition. There's certain ways you can get a lot of different help. One of them is working out. One of them is eating better, but there are times when people need a little extra something else. And Muscle-Wise Nutrition is trying to do that for you. This is some 30 doctors in Central Texas that were tired of patients who failed to lose weight by themselves, and if they did, a lot of times they were losing muscle weight. You do not want to lose your muscle. That's good for you. In fact, now Muscle-Wise Nutrition, they have 4 locations, have taken off nearly 20,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching, body composition analysis, to targeting the fat loss instead of muscle loss is working. Coaches can teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle and lose the weight in inches you want. Here's the email address, Sic'Em365@MuscleWiseNutrition.com. Sic'Em365@MuscleWiseNutrition.com. Coaches will contact you and go over an educational seminar that's free. Sic'Em365@MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Experience award-winning service and expert advice on Ram at Allen Samuels. We'll make sure your Ram experience is everything you expect and more. Now, during the Black Friday sales event, new 2020 Ram Lone Stars feature employee pricing for all, plus 0% for 84 months or up to $3,750 in values. Get an additional $1,000 if you own a competitive brand. No trade-in required. Ram from Allen Samuels.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio. The Central Texas Players of the Week is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
All right, back with our Players of the Week. Before we get to that, here are the teams that are left. Well, we can use that, Craig, in your segment as well after the Players of the Week as far as the games. And we'll spotlight the Central Texas teams. Let's get to the Players of the Week. Major Bowden, quarterback at China Spring. 25 carries, 185 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He also had a pass, if there's a short pass. And they have now smoked Jasper, West Orange Stark, and Sealy. And now they've got the 800-pound gorilla on Friday in Carthage.
Well, they might beat Carthage, but I don't think they're smoking Carthage. So I think the smoking's done for now. And they very well may beat Carthage. I mean, that was a hell of a game we did at what was that? The Cowboys indoor facility.
2016 at the Star.
Yeah, between these two teams, and Keontae Ingram was Carthage's big star running back, and Carthage won in a close ball game. So wouldn't surprise me for this game to go the same way, but man, it's going to be a tough one for both teams, no doubt.
So Major Bowden is the offensive player of the week, and he has been he and Abdallah give them a 1-2 punch, no question, on offense. I want to mention Brett Hoffman. He's up for Texas Football Player of the Week around the state. Buffalo had the 37-35 win against Rogers, 418 yards passing, also threw 4 touchdowns. That was an amazing effort. College Station quarterback Jet Huff had 5 touchdowns and 360 yards. And then sometimes in the larger classifications, you can get some big names, big games or whatever, but sometimes it's just the stuff in a 5A, 6A setting. Samari Howard again, 2 touchdown runs and catches in their win against Killeen, 49-6. Defensive player of the week, Larson Hoffmeyer, unanimously. Linebacker from Bosqueville, 16 tackles, 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, a sack, and 3 batted down passes. They came back from 20-0 down to beat 5th-ranked Lindsay to set up a rematch with Crawford. Larson Hoffmeyer, the defensive player of the week from Bosqueville. Also, special teams player of the week, Carson Coe, the kicker at China Spring. It's a close vote with Keyshawn Clater, who had a block punt return for a touchdown and marched route of West Sabine. Carson Coe, 3 for 3, or actually 4 for 4 extra points and a field goal from 26 yards out. And he is the special teams player of the week. And then the moment that made the difference in high school football in Central Texas.
Sic'Em365's Richard Carr Cadillac Moment with Central Texas High School Football is sponsored by Cadillac, where exceeding expectations is the standard.
I'll never forget after Crawford beat Bosqueville back in the end of October, it was like 27-20. There was a play at the end of the game where Crawford ripped the ball out of the hands of a Bosqueville player and sealed their victory. And I remember what Greg Jacobs of Crawford said. I also remember what Clint Zander of Bosqueville said, that they might meet again down the road. Well, Bosqueville was not at all supposed to be playing this week. I'm saying not at all. They didn't know that. The coaching staff didn't know that. Their fan base, they trailed 5th-ranked Lindsay. I just mentioned that, 20-0 late in the second quarter. They beat Lindsay 21-20 to set up the rematch with Crawford. And the Cadillac moment was Luke Bradshaw, Paul's son, who's at Baylor University.
Paul Bradshaw's son. What? You pointed to me and said Paul's son, Paul Bradshaw's son.
Not that son of Paul's.
Yes.
Luke Bradshaw, Paul's son, who's the quarterback at Bosqueville. Paul Bradshaw, who's the liaison for women's basketball in the athletic department. He has had a huge year. He hit Larson Hoffmeyer with 4:57 left in the game on a 62-yard touchdown pass to give them the lead. Down 20-0 in a playoff game, they came back to win the game 21-20. So those are the players of the week, offense, defense, special teams. And the overall player of the week, Rodrell Freeman again. Mark, 5 carries, 185 yards, 2 scores, had an 80-yard touchdown pass. Oh, and on top of that, 8 tackles, 6 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, a sack, a quarterback pressure, and a block punt return for a touchdown. I do want to mention this, and yes, they're a sponsor as well, but Jake Boozer and Eli Cummings for Riker, and both sides of the football, how they both did what they did.
That was a gutsy win for Riker.
What a fun win. That was a fun game. I had a couple of texts yesterday from Central Texas Christian Schools head coach Jeremy Callahan, and I'm telling you right now, Callahan, excuse me, and I'm telling you right now, they have a good football team. Riker had the only points in the second half to win it 27-22. We'll have their game Saturday in Italy. Italy will have their semifinal game against First Baptist Academy out of Dallas, who they beat by 20 earlier this year. And as I mentioned, their head coach is, by the way, Jason Lovner. He's a Baylor graduate. He was a walk-on quarterback at Baylor. at one point a walk-on quarterback at Baylor, and he played at First Baptist Academy in Dallas. Craig?
All right, how about La Vega? No longer in the playoffs. That much-anticipated rematch with Argyle, and, it's been a situation where they kind of trade back and forth a little bit. Argyle gets the win in the regular season, La Vega in the postseason, but 28-14, Argyle eliminates the Pirates.
Now, Argyle's better this year. Mm-hmm. They were better, and I think Don Hyde felt really good about having who he had back for the game. It was tight at times, but they just could never catch up. And Argyle, congratulations to them. I hate it for La Vega. Congratulations for the Argyle. They're 13-0. They play Paris this week.
Malakoff 24, Grandview 21.
I was at the game. It was fantastic. They've played 5 times. Every one of them has been a bang-bang ending. Malakoff kicked a field goal with 5 seconds left to win it. And I'm telling you right now, they could play 11 times, and it would maybe be – Grandview had won the first 4, including the state championship in 18. It was a fantastic game at Waco ISD Stadium.
Lorena, also out of the playoffs now, 61-48. They fall to Hallettsville.
The running back from Hallettsville, Brooks, UT commitment, 8 touchdowns, 501 yards rushing in that game. Lorena put up huge numbers, but just couldn't keep up. 61-46, I think, was the score.
Yeah, I'm going to miss talking to Ray Biles every week. I love talking to Ray. He's as old school as it gets, but just one of the great coaches in our area. And it's one of those things where just the 5-10 minutes that we talk every week, I feel like I know just this much more about high school football than I did the week before.
Franklin mopped Lexington 40-7.
Yeah, they did, and they just dominated that game. Their offense right now, as good as they were when they played Wascom back in 15 for the state title, this Franklin team offensively is so much more dynamic, and they were good. They can throw it a little bit as well, and now they move on to have a rematch with Buffalo.
Yep, you mentioned Buffalo. Rogers and also Bosqueville's come from behind win against Lindsay, 21-20. It was come from behind, right?
Which was Bosqueville? Yeah, they were down 20-0. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're 21-20 win. Crawford moved on rather easily, 55-13 over Alvord. Let's see, Shiner 56-0 over Mason.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, how closely people were paying attention to that game, but that's still a shocking, one-sided score, 56-0.
Mason just hadn't been the same this year, and Shiner and Refugio are different levels in 2A Division I.
Blum knocked off Union Hill 62-50.
Two good ones, yeah.
Richland Springs 48-34 over Calvert.
Yeah, I picked Calvert. I was the only one to do it. I got a little tip on this game. I think Calvert, but they had some players who didn't make it to Friday. They didn't get a chance to play for various reasons and they got off to a terrible start in that game.
You mentioned Riker, and we'll have their semifinal matchup coming up on Saturday. Live Oak also moved on with a relative ease, 54-8 over Vanguard.
Yeah, a couple of running backs that went off in that game. They beat Vanguard twice. That was a domination, 54-8.
And that's pretty much where we are with
Eagle
the
Christian Academy got knocked out. Their head coach, I talked to Bryce Frazier. I texted him, tried to call him, and then I texted him. Of course, they had a great run. He's done a good job there in a couple of years. That game between Franklin and Buffalo is a rematch. Buffalo won the first. Franklin beat Buffalo the first time. It was 69-38. So that might be one of those that gets up there as well. Here's the schedule. I know we have Phil Bennett, then Orion Stewart. Carthage, China Spring, Friday, 7 o'clock, Midlothian, one of our favorite places to do a game. Franklin, Buffalo, Friday, 7:30, Waco ISD. Crawford and Bosqueville, Friday at 7, I think it's 7 or 7:30, at Midway High School Panther Stadium. Mart and Tenaha, Friday in Athens at Bruce Field. Blum and May, defending champion May, Saturday, 6 o'clock in Dublin. Strawn and Richland Springs, these two teams, this is a great rivalry. Friday, 6:30 in Dublin. Riker and First Baptist Academy in a rematch. Saturday, 1 o'clock at Italy. We'll have the pregame at 12:30 on this Sic'Em 365 radio and on 106.7 FM. The Eagle and Live Oak moves into the semifinals in TAP 6-man Division II. They'll play Lake Hill Prep School out of Dallas coming up this weekend, and I just went blank on where the game was going to be played. I had it, and I just went blank. All right, coming up next, Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator. He's next in the 5 o'clock hour on Sic'Em 365 radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. So, Thanksgiving, they had all the hams you could imagine and the turkeys. Some of them that were, raw that you could cook yourself however you wanted, and some that were pre-cooked. And then also, now they move into the next phase of what the holidays might be. They'll still have hams and turkeys for you, but now maybe you want to, and there's not going to be a lot of office gatherings, not going to be a lot of Christmas parties. We understand because of what's going on. But if you need something that could be enough for where you have some people over, or your office is going to have something, and it's kind of just, during the holidays to say thanks for the year, that's a great place to get some of those customized type, I guess you could say, plates with cheese and meat and whatever else you want on it for customers, or even gifts for the holidays for those who are sponsors or clients of what business you might have and do. Also, if you want, they just absolutely have the best when it comes to bakery and a butcher shop that will custom make, custom cut whatever you need when it comes to steaks, poultry, pork, and seafood, and a bakery with fresh baked bread every day and kolaches every morning. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Online, wacocustommarketplace.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Here is Howard, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods rips it off for Baylor. Inside the 10 and a 1st and goal for the Bears on our first turnover.
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Didi Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Didi Group with their home, auto benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. This ought to be interesting. I don't know if we should have them on at the same time. I'm going to try to make sure we separate Phil Bennett from former Baylor safety Orion Stewart, who will join us at 5:30. Did you have a love-hate relationship with Orion Stewart?
I told you one time. I loved him. He hated me.
And I always, and for those that don't remember, the recruiting story is that he was not getting looks, and you went and found him, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to go as far as our women's basketball coach. Kim told me, said, have you looked at this kid? And of course, we had seen him a little bit. And Kim's son, this little guy is under your nose. You go all these places, and you had a guy right here in the city, and Orion was a great player.
Phil, they finally got a win this week, and what can that be like emotionally for a team? I know they got 2 tough games left, but when you keep losing close games and you finally do the little things right to get that win, what does that do to take the weight off the shoulders for Baylor?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, I want to congratulate the players and the coaches, because that was a game that could have got away from them very easily. With the situation in the first half, getting behind, and they just stayed course. And you know what? To me as a coach, that told me 2 things. Number one, the coaches knew they were never out of it, and the players believed in what they were getting told and that they could get back in the game. And I was at the A&M game, and I was watching both games. I was in a suite, and I was watching the Baylor game, and it was obvious. You could see that they never felt they were out of the game. And it was a fun game to watch. And I think it's huge. Even though you're going to play Oklahoma and you've got another big game, that time this team needed that, and they got it done.
What did you think of Charlie Brewer and just kind of the heroics, or whatever you want to call it, the moxie that he showed? It's obviously been very hit or miss for him, Phil, but he was hitting big time on Saturday night and kind of showing what people see in him, obviously.
Well, I think I've said it all year. Charlie's their quarterback because he's the best guy they have, and he's a winner. And I think you had some great catches. I mean, and I thought Larry and them did a good job when they settled down, saw what Kansas State was doing. I thought they did a really good job of working the thing, and obviously the accuracy that Charlie showed was important. But I thought as a team, especially on all defenses, played good and bad, pretty good most of the years. I thought the offense said, "Hey, we got to get us back in this game," and of course Charlie led that.
Phil, the defense got the turnover early, and then it seemed like every time Baylor's offense started to get untracked, and sometimes when you're kind of average, your offense might do something that somebody else is let down, like a special teams mistake or whatever. What do you see and why they're giving up the big plays?
I'll tell you, any time you play that, people talk about, well, if you played 60 plays, well, 55 of them were great plays. Well, you can have 5 plays that can absolutely kill you. And I think on either side of the ball, what you're striving for is consistency. I mean, you want to play, and you want to avoid the crucial turnover or the big play on offense. against you. And that's the thing that the consistency that you're trying to get through practice and experience. I look at us offensively and just, there's some guys out there that just don't have the experience that they've had in the past. And but you keep working at it. And that's the thing I thought was so important. After that game the week before, you sit there and you say, wow, what else can happen? You lose a walk-off. Well, hey, look what they did. They got behind, and then they win with a field goal at the end of the game, which shows me that these guys are still being coached, and they're still listening, and they're trying to do the things they need to do.
Phil, they probably needed a week. They didn't really have a true bye week before because they had COVID and all that. Do you think they needed that bye week? Those practices kind of maybe got them together emotionally a little bit?
I think no question. They haven't had a chance. It has been, of all the people, I would think them, U of H, and maybe Tulsa have had the toughest time with the. I remember early in the season, I go all the way back to the West Virginia game. Listen, guys, I still say they scored on that goal line. But they've had things happen, then can't practice, and then they, and it's been who's going to be available. And I think that there's a lot of things that come in to the picture that you see. And think about this. I was talking to a guy from LSU, one of their administrators who's a great friend of Dave, and he said David told him, he said, it's been quite the year. He said it's been so hard not knowing your players and just getting there. And it just made me think of what those guys have had to deal with being a new staff. It's been tough.
No doubt. It's been crazy. Just the difference, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, but coming into the office on Sunday after a win when you've been piling up losses, just what a difference does that make just with the players walking in to watch film or just sitting around with the other coaches in the office?
Listen, I have a kid that I coached at Pitt, and he was a kid named Jabal Shears. I think this is his 9th or 10th year in the league. And I saw that he made the sack that won the game yesterday for the Giants. And he texted me back. He said, Coach, it never changes. He says, Mondays are so much better that when you win. He said, your coffee's better, your food's better. He said, your girlfriend's better looking. And it's a true statement. It's a state of mind. I used to tell our kids that, if we, Art used to not, he wouldn't even use the word loss. He said, if we didn't score enough points, or we lost by whatever, he'd say, hey, he said, we're not going to let them beat us twice. You got a 24-hour period, and then you got to get out of it. And that's the thing that I think that you look, especially the last 3 weeks, guys. From Iowa State, you watch what Iowa State did to K-State. Then, they go to Austin and beat Texas. And then we were in very well striking distance of winning that game. So I'm looking at the whole picture. Even though we lost the Tech game and we lost the Iowa State game, the last 3 weeks to me, there's been market improvement.
Phil, by the way, we're having Barry Switzer on Thursday at 5. It's Oklahoma week. We usually get him on the week they play Oklahoma. He did tell me to tell you hello, and he said Phil's one of the good guys in coaching. Do you have a great Barry Switzer story that you can tell on the radio?
Actually, I do. John Fox and I were co-coordinators. We were 28 years old at Iowa State, and we had some pretty good players. Barry will tell you this. And we played them on the first ever night game on ESPN, 1984. I'm sort of giving away my age here, but we're playing them, and it was Bosworth. My brother was from Irvin, so I knew Brian. It was Casilla, the guy that does Fox News or Fox Sports now.
Joe Cladd? No, not Joe Cladd.
We were very good on defense. And I was on the field. John Fox was in the box. We lived together. We met our wives together, got married there together. But anyway, we're playing Oklahoma, and we're ahead 10-6. And Mac Brown was the offensive coordinator, and Bradley was their quarterback. Spencer, I can't remember, and they had a guy named Buster Rhymes that was a wideout. So we get to the game. The game's on the line. They're at the 4-yard line, and it's 4th and 4. And they had a coach there named Coach Wendell Mosley, great guy, recruited some great kids out of Houston. And I'm looking on the sideline across the field there at Iowa State, and I'm looking at Barry, and Barry's on his knees. This is true. They can look this up. And Paul McGuire is doing the game. You remember him, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's doing the game, and I look across, and me and John are arguing. I said, they're going to run the option. They're an option team. He goes, they're going to Buster Rhymes. He said, he's 6'4". I said, they're going to run the option. He said, look and see if they're talking to Barry. Well, they were talking, but Barry was on his knees, and I look up there. All of a sudden, I see somebody hand him something, and he bends over and he cups it and takes a drag off of a cigarette. And I said, hell, I said, he's not even worried about them scoring. They know they're going to score. He's smoking a cigarette. And you can look this up. They scored on the last play of the game. My safety came off the pitch. He thought the quarterback was down, and Bradley kicked it when he was about on his knees, and they won the game 12-10. Well, later on, Barry used to tell me, he said, Phil, he said, we'd come in there at Iowa State, and he said, there'd be 5 people when we warm up, and he said, then we come back. He said, it looked like we were always in the damn twilight zone. And he said, they'd be off the rafters. So Barry's a heck of a guy. He's one of my favorites.
Every Barry story switcher you ever hear is almost about his extreme calm confidence that he had. I mean, the story about Billy Sims recruiting is he called him at halftime while they were beating the heck out of Baylor. Yeah. Just walked in the locker room and called him and goes, hey, you watching the game? He's like, yeah, all right, good to know. I mean, God.
Well, let me tell you something. I went out when he was with the Cowboys, and I watched it firsthand. And I recently just saw him at John Blake's funeral, and it was fun to see him. But he gets players to maximize their ability. He gives them a confidence that and a belief system, which is so vital in coaching. You know, sometimes the X's and O's don't really matter as much as saying, you know what, I think you can do this. And if Barry Switzer, everybody I ever knew at OU, if he told you, hey, I think you can be the best, all of a sudden you became something pretty special.
Coach, an Oklahoma game there's a lot of Baylor-Oklahoma games that people reflect on. The Thursday night blackout game that was huge. That was a huge win. The trip up to Norman, we know winds being so elusive up there and just going up there and kicking their tail. What stands out to you when you think of your time at Baylor and playing Oklahoma?
Well, I'm going to tell you, those two you mentioned were outstanding. But 2011, you got to remember, I'd taken over and we had some guys that had never really played. The best players on defensive left. And we go up and we almost lost to Turner, Gill, and Kansas. We had to, do you remember that? We had to bum rush them. I think we beat them in overtime. I think it was an overtime game. And we came back and beat them. And guess who we had the next week?
Yep.
OU. And people were making fun of us. They're saying, they're gonna score this many points, and the quarterback that played for the Steelers and the running back. And I'm telling you, that week I told Art, I said, this is a battle cry. I said, these people, and they thought, and we went out there, and I'm telling you, we had guys on there, but Baptiste was dominant inside. Tracy Robertson was dominant inside. KJ Morton, we put a coverage in. They had 2 tight ends. I think both of them played in the NFL. And We ended up winning the game. Of course, Terrence made that great. That was a win that I thought right then that really sealed 2011 for us, because we could have played them 10 times and maybe only beaten them once. But that night, Robert was great and we stayed alive. But defensively, we bent a little bit, but we didn't break to the point. And I remember after the game, Bob Stoops called me and or grabbed me, and he said, "My God," he said, "Y'all, tell your kids I said they played hard," and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I just looked at that Kansas game up 31-30. They went for 2 to try to win, and
RJ
incomplete pass.
Robert had the long run that kind of kick-started that, wasn't it? That you guys were down big. Yeah.
Now we got ahead of them, but they were good enough to come back. I think their tight end was Hannah. He was a great player. They had that running back that was a multi-purpose guy. He was a fullback, tailback guy, and he was a hell of a player. Ended up getting hurt his senior year, but he was definitely a high draft pick. And it was just a really – and our belief system, I know for us, at least defensively, became real. Because, see, they got the ball back. If you remember, we scored. We got a stop. We got 3 stops at the end of the game, one of them being a pick that we ended up holding them off. And it was really it was a huge win for us.
Why can't coaches win at Texas right now? Is it anything to do with the coaches, or is it more to do with the situation they're walking into?
I'm going to tell you, and this is just me. It's always about, 2 things. Coaching matters. I know that. I know at Baylor it matters. And if you look, you get guys there. Mac Brown did a good job there. And they probably, I don't know what happened, but, people don't realize his last game, when we beat him 31-6, I mean, they could have won it that year too. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they get tired of you. And I think that they're regretting, the situation there. They've had guys, and it's not a knock, but Charlie really wasn't a fit, and then Tom had been a GA there, and I can tell you in my career, I mean, there's so many other people that Texas probably could have had that would have been more in line with what they're looking for. But the biggest thing that I've seen, and it happens at a lot of places, the players that they're playing with, that they're the 5-stars and 4-stars, they're not producing. And I can't tell you, is it coaching? Is it, or did they miss on them? But that there's something about, people telling me when Matt Brown was there, I played them. They were tough. I don't care what anybody says. Malcolm Brown, I mean, they were tough. And right now, for some reason, they just don't have – I don't see the athletes that would separate them, like an Alabama, which, let's be honest. I think it was in 2009 after they won it, or what year was it that Gilbert came in when Colt got hurt? Or they would have won 2 national championships.
09,
yeah. 09, he got hurt. Yeah.
If Colt McCoy doesn't get hurt, I mean, they will stone cold romp Alabama, and almost came back and did it anyway. But I think it's a high pressure job, and when I'll never get over watching that Longhorn Network this year in recruiting when you got a guy. The incident with shooting the finger, on the Longhorn Network. I mean, that just sort of showed me what they were dealing with there. Yeah, I don't think the job is so hard that people can't win there. I know that. They just had the wrong people.
Yeah, and that 09 Alabama loss pretty much launched the Alabama-Saban dynasty. That night is what that happened. You mentioned you were at the A&M game, 20-7 over LSU. Phil, the Aggies are right there, as far as the college football playoff standings go, at number 5. Obviously have, some games left, but what do you think of A&M and Jimbo and what he's got cooking this year?
Well, they have – here's my concern. They've done a great job regrouping after the Alabama job, and Alabama has beat a lot of people. I worry about, I'm not sure a top 4 team will ever have a quarterback go 11 of 34 for 100 yards in a big game. Mm-hmm. So, LSU, which was 128th in the country, pretty much dominated them except for a few plays. LSU was hopeless on offense. Their guys, everybody's opted out. They had 2 freshman quarterbacks, and it really wasn't a challenge. And A&M defense did play good, but the knock. I had one of the guys on the committee there told me this. That A&M hadn't beaten a team with a winning record, and when they start looking at that, they sit there and they say, and we went through this obviously with Baylor and TCU, the head-to-head goes, but also how they sit there and they say, all right, these guys played 5 times. Who would win the majority of them? And A&M did beat Florida. I think A&M, if they're going to have a chance with and things sort of turn out, they're going to have to really play well and beat Auburn, beat Ole Miss, and beat Tennessee, and then some things got to fall for them. I hate to say this, but I know it's true. These guys look, they say, hey, style points don't matter. That's BS. They do. If you're beating people 50-7 and 48-10, or you're beating them 20-7 or 13-7, they look at that. So, I think Jimbo has done a good job. They got a 4-year quarterback. I don't think they're a dominant team, but I think they're better. This year has been so weird. You look at the SEC, and there's good teams, but Tennessee's falling back down. South Carolina's been fired. Kentucky's falling back down. You can't, because they're only playing each other. You say, well, I don't know if they're as good as they were, but I just don't see, and I think it's part of this situation of coaches not having the prep that they've had before.
Yeah, wouldn't you know, they finally win or run the table except for Alabama in the SEC West, and it's a year the SEC West is not who they have been.
No, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. One question, one more thing about UT. I've always wanted to ask you this. During the week of Central Florida and the bowl game out in Phoenix, how much did the distraction of UT and Coach Browse affect that game and your team?
It affected. That's all I'm going to say. It was, and it was, I think Art will tell you the whole thing, too. It's just, nobody wants to talk about the game. And you can tell the players all you want. I mean, UCF was a fine team. And I will tell you this, I don't mind telling them. I'd tell Georgia, we could have played them 10 times and beat them bad 9. They played good that night. We were, and it was almost like people out there, they didn't want to talk about the game. They want to talk about that situation. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. And hey, with that said, that's no excuse.
No,
they just beat us, and we didn't handle it right, and it was one of those days.
Thank you as always for the insight. We love it. Appreciate it, Phil. Thank you. Appreciate that. Coach Bennett, Phil Bennett with us on Mondays at 5. Coming up next, a young man that he coached, Orion Stewart, the safety at Midway, and then, of course, was a really good player at Baylor. And as he said, there was a love-hate relationship. He loved Orion, and Orion hated him. That's next on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Look, it's Christmas time. If you're going to think about maybe getting somebody some gifts, like a nice bottle of wine, maybe they're a vodka drinker, maybe they're a fan of Balcones, well, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is going to have their own line of Balcones, their own special barrel, Christmas special. They've picked it out. The only place you'll be able to get it is at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And so that's going to go pretty fast when it all comes down to it. They've picked it out. It's a 5-year age single malt scotch. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So they're going to have that there. So go ahead and call them right now. Reserve your bottle if you've got to, because you want to make sure that you get that. That would be a fantastic Christmas gift for anybody in your life. Even if you maybe say don't know them personally and just listen to them on the radio or watch them on YouTube every day. Just saying, that's a great gift for anyone in your life, especially the whiskey fans, and that's a partnership between Balcones, the Waco Whiskey Club, and Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Convenient drive-through window, great selection of craft beers, great selection of everything else, great expertise. Find out more on Facebook, Instagram, Lakeshore Drive, and North 19th Street in Waco for Riverbend Liquor and Wine.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Didi Group Insurance Agency. With the Didi Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Didi Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Didi Group at 1-800-258-8302.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Now get employee pricing for all on new Jeeps from Allen Samuels. Just in time for the holidays, Grand Cherokee Limited has 0% for 84 months and no payments for 90 days. Or pick a cool Jeep Compass or the rugged Jeep Renegade Subcompact. Take your pick because both feature employee pricing for all. 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. It's the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. Your friend in the car business.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sic'Em365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, we're going to hear from Orion Stewart, we hope, between now and 6 o'clock. And while we try to track him down, I think after he heard that Phil Bennett would be before him, he probably ran for cover. But earlier today, Craig, Baylor offered Shoemaker wide receiver and kick return specialist Monterey Baldwin, who Toby Foreman has been begging Division I schools in Texas, look at my kid. and Baylor offered him earlier today.
Yeah, didn't they offer another KISD kid like a week ago?
Yeah, they did. The 2022 guy, I think.
Yeah, whose name escapes
me. From Killeen High School.
I guess I would have seen Monterey Baldwin last year doing Midway.
Yep.
And I remember him. He's a good player, and they need wide receiver help, obviously. Their class is kind of falling apart as far as the wide receivers in particular go. And I know in 21, or as they close out this class, and then also moving forward to 2022, a lot of C's being planted right now. That'll be a group that they really focus in on. So, hey, if you can get them in your backyard, that's great. We don't see Baylor go to Killeen all that often. And, they seem to have like a good crop of players down there right now. So, yeah, they're right there in striking distance. Go get them.
We might get a chance to hear from Toby Foreman. Not now, Jack, because we are now joined by Ryan Stewart, former Baylor, and also Midway safety and a part of those great teams that Baylor had. He joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. So, Ryan, we had Phil Bennett on just a moment ago, and he said you guys had a love-hate relationship. He loved you, and you hated him.
That's what he had to say about it.
Yeah. Well, you want to clean that up a little bit. You know he loved you, man, and I know he made you a better player, and you were really good at Baylor. What was your relationship like with Coach Bennett?
I mean, at times it was pretty hard because I guess I was very competitive. I would say so. Sometimes with him going. You know how Coach Bennett does with him going off like that. I guess sometimes it'll get a little rocky, but it's not no hard feelings there.
Orion, I'm going to take you back to Midway before we get to Baylor real quick. That state championship game, I don't know if people quite remember that, but that was a tough game you guys had to play. Your kickoff return that you had in that game kind of shot some life into your team. What do you remember about that moment?
Obviously it's crazy because I was just talking to one of my former teammates about this, and I remember at halftime Coach Gamble had actually I had hurt my chest. My chest was hurting, and he had actually he told me Stu, I'm gonna take you off kickoff return. I was like, nah, Coach, they leave me. I said, leave me on here. They kick it to me. I'm gonna go scope, and that's exactly what I did. And I just think that gave us some momentum, but it didn't really, it didn't last too long.
I don't know why this question popped into my head, Orion, but if you tomorrow could suit up one more time to either play a high school football game or a college football game, which would you choose?
Oh, college.
College.
Yeah, no doubt.
Why is that?
I just think the level we was playing at in college. I mean, don't get me wrong, we was very good at Baylor. I mean, at Midway. Mm-hmm. But the level that we was playing at Baylor and the camaraderie of the team that we had there, it was like no other.
Yeah, you were on some special teams, no doubt about it. You guys were very tight. And what was it like to be a part of that run that Baylor had and be a part of some of those great moments? Obviously, the games with TCU and the things that you did and the moments and drama that you guys had, some huge moments and wins during your time.
Like I said, I was just the team that was around us made it just so much better. And then also being from Waco, that's just big for my hometown. Anyway, to see Baylor not be good at all to the level we were playing at.
Hey, what did you say to Gary Patterson that day to hurt his feelings so bad?
Oh, God.
Man, apparently I threatened him.
Apparently.
No, honestly, though, I just told him after the game, he told me good game. I shook his hand. I was like, man, you didn't have to talk about my brother Ahmad like that, though. And he took that the wrong way. And, it is what it is. It's nothing. You move forward. It's nothing, like I said, I guess it just is what it is. Nothing you hang on to.
But you had, Ahmad was like a big brother to you, but you guys were obviously running buddies, but you were, Ahmad went through a lot after that loss when he had the targeting call. He blew up the receiver, and, that was a kind of a weird moment. So you were just having his back, correct?
Yeah, I was just saying, man, you didn't have the blatant disrespect toward his name in the media was just a little outrage for me.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I don't know if that was my place to say something at that moment. I did, because as you know, I sometimes kind of just let myself go. But
yep, is what it is.
It happened. It's over with. We move forward.
Absolutely. So, Orion, Oklahoma coming up this weekend for the Bears. I know you had a lot of big games, big moments against Oklahoma. You guys had a lot of success against them. When you think of the Sooners, what do you think of?
I don't like them.
That's a start.
Yeah, is that easy enough to say? No, honestly though, the respect is definitely there for the competitor that they were each and every year. They didn't won. I don't know. I don't even want to count how many Big 12 championships they didn't won since we've been gone. It's or even when I was there, honestly.
Right.
I know it'll be a tough game, but if I'll be looking forward to watching it though.
Orion, you had opportunities after Baylor in the NFL. You were constantly moving around, and it seemed like people wanted you, but it didn't always work out. What was that like? How humbling was that? But also the fact you had chances in the NFL.
I mean, it's very humbling. It's a feeling that it has its highs and its lows. But I'm still pushing forward. I'm a free agent right now, but somebody gives me a call, I'm ready to go. So I'm still trying to hang around, and I feel like I got a few more football years on my legs.
Have you been training a lot?
I think I'm gonna try that out.
Have you been training a lot?
Yeah, staying in shape, nonstop.
Is there a time when you don't? And I'm hoping you do, because people keep bringing you back. They see something. They see the talent. Is there a time where you might have to just sit there and say, okay, I'm not going to wait any longer, and you go on to the next part of your life?
I mean, with playing football in general, it's NFL stands for not for long, so you always have to have other avenues of revenue, and those are things that I've been working on for a little bit now. So I just feel that. So I always tell people that I'm a guy that I really don't take a lot of protein shakes and those type of things. I just feel like if my body can't get itself to go how I need it to go, then it might be time for me to put it up.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what happened. In Tampa, you had an injury. You left practice. I think it was late. It was early in training camp when you were carted off the field.
Yeah, training camp.
Yeah. So let everyone know what you're doing these days to catch up on you if you want.
Say that again.
Let everybody know that doesn't know exactly what you might be doing or where you are, what you're doing, for anyone to want to catch up with you.
I mean, I'm trying. I'm indoors. I'm in the Dallas area, trying to stay out of trying to stay healthy away from this COVID.
Yeah.
That's going on. So I really haven't been doing too much. Just, working out, trying to stay in shape and ready for a call.
How much of an influence who had more influence on you, Kramer Robertson or Kim Mulkey?
I would have to say Kim Mulkey.
I bet.
Yeah, that was my extended family for sure. I actually just seen not too long ago. But yeah, Kim Mulkey, she was always tough on me. I guess because she knew the ability that I had. So people don't know, she used to kind of get on me, pretty good like to the house.
Yeah, she told me a story. She told me a story one time about getting after you, and I thought, oh man, of all the people that you would want to while you're in high school, you want her on your side, but also I couldn't imagine what it would be like if you just stepped slightly out of line and Kim Mulkey got after you when you were 17 years old.
Yeah, she used to. People don't know that, but she used to get after me. But I loved it though. It was a tough love. I used to go back every time.
Can we? You want to make that phone call, Paul?
You call her right now.
No,
now joining us, Kim Mulkey, Lady Bears head coach.
But could you ever, like, when she called you, it was like, "Oh, Ryan," you know, you knew you were in trouble, right?
Yeah, it's just you could just hear the sternness in her voice. She wasn't playing around with.
Hey, man, it's great to hear from you. I'm glad we got back in touch. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. You had some huge plays at Midway and Baylor. We wish you the best of luck in whatever you're doing. And if you get a call, go kick some ass, okay?
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Great to hear from Ryan Stewart from Midway and Baylor. He was a hell of a player now. At Midway, I think he's the one that ran back an interception early against Lee, now Legacy, in a game at McLean Stadium that kickstarted a rout. And he, of course, was a part of that, as you mentioned, Paul, state championship team when they lost to Baker Mayfield and Lake Travis at AT&T Stadium. All right, so do we have the interview with the Shoemakers head coach, Jack, ready? So we mentioned Monterey Baldwin received an offer from Baylor. And it's so interesting when coaches get jobs elsewhere, superintendents, principals, coaches, there's always a tie-in somewhere. And with Toby Foreman, the head coach at Shoemaker, he knows some on the Baylor staff from his time at Huntsville and at Beaumont Central when he was the head coach at Beaumont Central. Listen to how all of this intertwines together in Baylor offering his wide receiver kick returner Monterey Baldwin an offer.
You have been banging the drum of Monterey Baldwin. I know even one segment you and I spoke earlier in the year in a game you were about to play. How important is it now that somebody Baylor has offered him, and what does it mean, do you think, to the program and to Monterey?
Well, it's a big deal, number one for the program, but mainly for Monterey because he's definitely deserving. He's a fine young man, an excellent academic student, and he definitely takes care of his business on the field.
Your thoughts about his talent? You've said, hey, somebody watch this young man. He can do this. What about him as a Division I talent?
Well, I've coached. I was just telling the receivers coach at Baylor I've known for a little while because when I was in Beaumont, he was at ULL. And I was telling him, I said, I've coached about 80 Division I football players, and this guy can play in the Big 12. There's no question in my mind. I've sent about 6 or 7 other receivers to Big 12, and he's going to, he's definitely going to get some early opportunities to play, not only as a receiver but a return man. He's an excellent return man, excellent.
Tell me something about Monterey Baldwin outside of football. You mentioned he's a young man. He's a very good young man. Is there anything else unique about him or something a story you can share about him?
Well, I tell you what, when I got here, he was an 8th grader, spring of his 8th grade year, and I can just remember going down there and talking to those kids at my middle school feeders, and you got to remember now, Shoemaker wasn't winning 7-8 games a year, going to the playoffs. We were struggling, and I just remember the conversation that I had with him, and when I met his mother, he just, he's a unique kid, and I remember him. I don't know how he specifically worded it, but it was basically the gist was, Coach, we're going to get this thing, going in the right direction, and he's been an integral part of that, and he kind of had that vision as an 8th grader. And his class has done a great job of sticking together, and he's definitely one of the leaders in that class that's turned this program into what it is at this point.
So you spoke with George Munoz then, right? Is that when you got to know him when you were at Beaumont Central as the head coach, and he was at ULL?
That is correct. I had 2 kids sign with him when he was at ULL. One was a receiver he now plays cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the other is still at Lafayette he's a 6-year senior.
Okay.
But Munoz did a really good job of recruiting our area, and he's done a really good job with recruiting Monterey as well. I mean, it's been a lot of dialogue there, and like I said, I know the guys at Baylor. I know several of them really well. Coach Pallage, I actually coached him in high school when he was at Huntsville. But so some of those I go back a long ways with some of those guys, but. Munoz is a great receivers coach, and he does a great job of developing the players and the talent that he has.
You're not old enough, Toby, to coach coaches who are now coaching in college football, are you?
I guess I am. I had Matthew Pallage when he was a freshman at Huntsville High School, and it was my very first year. I was a part-time volunteer coach, and he was one of our better players. He was a leader, and I've stayed in contact with him. He was at Louisiana Lafayette as well, but I've stayed in contact with him, and he does definitely make me feel old.
So that's Toby Foreman, the head coach at Shoemaker. Monterey Baldwin is wide receiver, kick returner. He's a track guy as well. He is right now currently committed, Craig?
To Incarnate Word, and also has offers from Abilene Christian and Texas Southern. So not a very highly recruited player, but if you follow 6A in Central Texas, then you've likely read his name, heard his name more than a few times. If you follow that district, not a big kid. He's not going to be like a Denzel Mims. He's more of a 5'10 type, so more of a slot wide receiver. But the return part's interesting because there's a couple of clips out there, highlight tapes, and he's definitely a pretty talented return man. So I could certainly see him hitting the field in the return capacity earlier than maybe expected. Just getting him out there to get a look at him. But I like what I see, and I'm no film expert by any means, but interesting that they're throwing that out. They obviously see something with a couple weeks before trying to sign him.
And the tie-ins to the coaching staff with Powledge and George Munoz as well. When we come back, we'll wrap it up.
No, we're just going to
we're done? Okay.
Just take another couple minutes and throw it to the end.
All right. Well, there's a couple more things for us to do. Hold on.
How about a Wednesday afternoon NFL game? Let's do that. How about we do that?
3:40 Eastern time for Ravens and Steelers, if it gets played. I mean, I'm still not completely convinced that thing is going to happen. But if it gets played Wednesday afternoon, 3:40 p.m. Eastern, 2:40 Central. And the reason that is NBC is fully committed to broadcasting the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting. So the NFL
gets bumped.
the
tree this year? Why are they
it's
really
2020.
pumping this up?
Yeah, the before and after pictures of the tree was like outside the house at the Christmas tree farm it's grown at, and it was all nice and full. By the time it got to 30 Rock, it was barren. It looked like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree.
It really did.
Well,
it damn sure did.
And there's not only going to be a Wednesday afternoon NFL game, but the Cowboys are going to be playing on a Tuesday. December the 8th, their game with the Baltimore Ravens was originally supposed to be played this Thursday. Will now be played next Tuesday at 7:05 on Fox and the NFL Network and Amazon.
And then also Pittsburgh, because their game was delayed, Washington was supposed to play Pittsburgh next, and now they'll get a 10-day break before they play the Steelers.
Yes.
In their next game. All right, couple of other notes. We mentioned all of what you've seen today. Gonzaga, Baylor, 1-2 in the college basketball poll. Baylor plays number 5 Illinois Wednesday, number 1 Gonzaga on Saturday. Xavier Howard now has 7 interceptions. 8 teams in the NFL have not reached that number, including
the Dallas Cowboys.
San Francisco's games, week 13 and 14 home games will be played in Arizona because of the Santa Clara County COVID restrictions.
I never want to hear about Santa Clara County after 2020 is over with.
And,
ever again.
no, Matt Rule, Carolina, yesterday, they looked like they were going to have a huge win against Minnesota. They have now lost games on a 65, 67, and now 54-yard end-of-the-game field goals.
It's tough.
Part of the deal in the NFL, but you could see what he's doing with that team as they're tough. And, yeah, they're not winning right now. In the NFL, it's hard to win even if you're good. So the Joe Wickline injuries today, the story from Dave Aranda I thought was neat. Here's a couple of quotes from players if you did not hear them.
How about Charlie Brewer, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week? John Mayers, Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week, was a couple of other headlines we've had today.
Here's some quotes. Charlie Brewer's taken a beating most of the year, as we know, and he also is at times he has struggled. There's no question about it. But Saturday night, Treston Ebner. Charlie is the Baylor program. Charlie is what defines Baylor football. R.J. Sneed, when he was asked about the late drive, how much confidence did we have? That's Charlie Brewer. Y'all have, forgotten what this man has done over the last 3 years? I was very confident. And then Aranda on Brewer, I know how much it meant to him. He said there was a time on the sidelines when he said they'll have to kill me not to win this game. And he said he was an emotional guy in a non-emotional way. Well, isn't the head coach that way?
Very much so.
Very much so. So there's a tie-in there as well.
But,
I'm kind of that way.
By the way, the Cowboys had 7 interceptions all of last year. They have 3 this year. So he could be on pace to have more than them in 2 years.
Man.
In 1 year. I mean, it's just
That's how bad they are at turning the football over.
Scotty_BU_King. That was my basketball teammate. Stu BU. It's great to hear from Orion Stewart. We got a couple of other blasts for the past we're going to have on this week as well. And then Phil Bennett with the story. And how about the admission about what was going on the week before Central Florida in the bowl game? I thought that was cool as well.
We all knew that. We just never have heard anybody confirm it. I mean, we've had a couple players who have said that, it was kind of weird. But, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, we were there. We felt it. You could feel it. And it was clear by the way they played that game. And he's right. If they played UCF 10 times, they probably beat them 9 and beat the mess out of them like 7. But just that one day, and that's what you got. But certainly, nicer to come in on a Monday with a win in Baylor's back pocket than it is with yet another loss. And I thought a lot of guys stepped up and made big plays, especially on offense. And, the defense, when it needed to, when it had to have a short stop, it got a short stop. And, they had just given up 2 easy touchdowns right before that. And I didn't have a whole lot of confidence, and then with 5 minutes left, being able to get a 2-minute stop and give the ball back to an offense who would then have to go down and score. And even though they were cooking at that point, I mean, it's still, kind of a crapshoot with this team. So that was one aspect of the game I really appreciated, because it was not complimentary football throughout, but at the end when it needed to be, it actually was.
No, you're right.
And look, the offensive line for this team is so bad that no matter how well everybody else is playing at any given time, like that can undo it. For example, the near fumble at the end of the game doesn't happen if the play initially is blocked well.
Right.
Yeah, so like all those things. And Dave Aranda said that they're banged up. They're all these different things. They have no continuity, and they've got 2 games left to find it against probably 2 of the 3 teams you wouldn't want to find it against in Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully this builds some confidence and they can get some continuity.
I tell you what, Oklahoma State's not overly impressive right now. I mean, they're struggling, although their running back, whose name I'm forgetting now, who replaced Chuba, had a huge game. So that hasn't dropped off even with him hurt last week. But, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State's a beatable team. Right now, though, it's about OU. And, I just hope the game gets played this Saturday with what they've got going on COVID-wise. Apparently, I saw where Lincoln Riley was making comments about, their status, and it still seems like it's kind of up in the air. So we'll see how that goes. But, we got a few more days left here, and it's nice that Baylor's actually got a little bit of momentum going into a game.
Isn't it neat how everything is melted together? 4th week of the playoffs in high school football. The 5A, 6As wrap up their season this week. You now have basketball that's merged into this end of football season, and hopefully everything continues to go, hopefully, as much as possible. All right, thanks to Dave Aranda, Didi Richards, Kevin Hoffman. Thanks to Kyle Robarts, Baylor Women's Basketball Athletic Communications, Greg Jacobs of Crawford. Thanks as well to Phil Bennett, also Toby Foreman of Shoemaker, Jason King, Sic'Em365 Basketball Insider, and former Baylor and Midway safety Orion Stewart. Barry Switzer, Thursday at 5 o'clock is just a note. Tomorrow, Mac Rhodes, among others, for Paul Catalina and Craig Smoke. Jack, great job today. Thank you very much. I'm David Smoke, Sic'Em365 Radio. Thank you for listening and watching whenever you can, however long it might be, and good night. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.